nostalgia rages across the land, where everyone and their mother has a podcast, where there's still a movie trailer guy who says, in a world. Three friends revisit films, shows, and games that molded them as they search for answers to life, the universe, and everything in between. Settle in and join us for Screen Refresh.
Welcome back to Screen Refresh, a show where we revisit the films, shows, and games of our childhood, try to take another look at what we fell in love with. As always, I am Tim. I'm joined by the rest of the Screen Refresh crew, Nick, Dean, and David.
Hello there.
Hi. Can't hear David.
David is muted.
He is.
Like, how many years have we been doing? Not even
Some
the podcast,
variation
but
of this.
But like Zoom
Here you go,
calls.
David. I have this
thank
mug
you.
for you. It says you're on mute.
It happens to me occasionally at work, and I just give up at times. I'll just walk away and be like, "Nah, I'm done."
David, this is an all hands on deck meeting. Gently getting in your car and driving away.
It's like I'm too embarrassed to be in this meeting.
So simply die.
Today we are bringing everybody together to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time. It is one that I have grown up on and championed for years, and I am very interested in hearing all of your either first-time watches or rewatches or whatever the case is in June 21st, 1991's The Rocketeer from Walt Disney Pictures.
I was really wondering when Captain America was going to show up, and I was very disappointed that he did not, so 1 out of 5 for me.
I mean, same universe, right? Like Captain America and the Iron Giant, like all.
It feels honestly like a crossover that could happen. I mean, especially the fact that like Joe Johnston directed this and Captain America: The First Avenger.
He also was.
Is that why
on
they
Iron
hired him
Giant.
to do that?
He was on Iron Giant as well. He didn't direct, but he had part in it, and he actually handled some of the art for the design of the Iron Giant.
Oh, that's pretty
which
cool.
is like the helmet to head, like is very, very
that
similar.
makes sense then.
Yeah.
He recommended Vin Diesel too for the Iron Giant.
Oh, did he really?
No, I don't. I'm just making that up.
Oh, I was gonna say, maybe.
I wanted to be.
Sounded like a good
I wanted to
name.
be
I
included.
was like, wow, Dean did some research on. Oh no,
Did you go to the Alamo Draft House in Boston?
no, unfortunately.
Not you.
Wait, who?
David.
No, I did not.
Well, because I know you frequent Massachusetts a lot still, because they have
I mean,
a
it's
big,
true.
massive statue of the Iron Giant as you walk in.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I thought you were about to say like, well, they did a Rocketeer like 35th anniversary, whatever, and I was gonna be like, no, I missed it. Oh yeah, the Iron Giant statue there is cool.
No, Tim, when I'm talking to you, I'll say, Tim, did you?
Wait, you'll say
Oh,
my name,
but if you don't,
but
if you don't
say
say
David's?
anybody's name, you're talking to
Well,
David.
I was talking, I did say David. Roll
Oh.
back the footage. Did you go to the Alamo Draft House in Boston?
I'm not
You
gonna.
didn't.
I'm-
didn't.
I'm
Roll
the
it back.
general audience. Like when no one.
Yeah,
is
so
talking to
that's
anyone,
his
it's me.
default parameter is just
Yes.
you.
Yes, you.
We're override parameters. So if I am wrong when I play back and edit this, I'm going to change it so this way I'm right, and you'll never know it.
Good, because there's a good chance that I'm wrong anyway, so I really
Nick will
don't remember
post
anymore.
His original audio on
So
social media.
was this the first watch for anyone for this one?
Really,
Wow.
Dean?
Oh,
Dean, you've never seen it before.
I've also never seen the Iron Giant,
oh, We should-
which I hear very good things about.
a terrific movie.
It's one of those movies, too, even though this is not the movie we're talking about. When it comes to the Iron Giant, growing up, every single animated movie was always sung, and it was a musical. And as a child, that's kind of what you grew up with, and you just kind of like, it's animated, it's going to have a music number. This is one of the first few ones that I remember that didn't have that, and it's very adult. So it's worth the watch.
Bradley Bird directed that, right?
That is correct.
This is my first go around with Rocketeer. I really didn't. I know it's a Disney movie, so I had some level of what to expect from a 90s Disney movie, but it was pleasant.
I think the early 90s live action Disney was a little more than the like what you would expect from like DComs and things like that. Like we got Hocus Pocus and we got things like that I feel like were solid films, even though they're targeted at a younger audience or a family-friendly audience. They still ended up not feeling like kiddie films.
This was also like one of Disney's first forays into live action, right? Like, I know we had Dick Tracy the year before this, but
I think
there was a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like
They've had a lot
of
throughout
tennis
this.
shoes and like
Yeah.
all that. Like,
Yeah,
they've
the
been doing
60s and
stuff since, like, the
70s, yeah.
Shaggy Dog.
Yeah.
So here's some up to
My
Star
first
Wars
go-to.
trivia that ties in. Hold on, let me Google this real quick because I never remember the name of it.
Wait, you said you have some
But-
trivia? Let me Google this.
Shut
real
up, Tim.
quick.
Let me get this.
We'll do it
I know
live.
there's trivia out there.
I know it is. I just never remember the fucking name of
Just
the
fill the
stupid
time while
movie.
we
Bookmark
find it,
IMDb. That's free real
You know,
estate on your bar.
I said at the top of the episode I didn't have time to do all my research. I didn't think this would have come up, but so long story short, the Krayt Dragon skeleton you see in Star Wars when 3PO and R2 crash on Tatooine, that skeleton, David, is literally just the same exact like dinosaur skeleton from a Disney movie prior. I'm just trying to find the name of that Disney movie.
The Great Dragon.
trying to think even what that would be. See, I thought you were going to bring up that Joe Johnston did work on the original Star Wars trilogy for art direction.
Well, I mean, he did work on Jurassic Park 3, but we'll give him a pass on that because this one was so much better.
The worst.
Oh,
of
it
Jurassic
is
Parks.
Disney's. One of our dinosaurs is missing. The skeleton from that movie is literally the Krayt Dragon skeleton that you see in Star Wars.
I have
Same
never heard of that film.
I feel like there could be an
Yeah,
entire
so everyone-
sub-series of just us tracking down the history of different props from films, of how many things did it get used in, all of that.
But at least to stay on point, yeah, this is one of the many live action Disney movies that they had done prior to like they were. I think it was a lot of them like during the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it was a lot of like, I mean, that was like Kurt Russell's big thing during that time, was he was the young Disney star that was coming out with all of these films. But a lot of them were more of the hokey, like spy things or like other stuff or like wacky science experiment. So a quick editor's note here. After seeing all of that, it sounds like we are all the Apple Dumpling Gang and Son of Flubber, but I just wanted to mention that they've had live action stuff going back into previously to the 60s to the 50s. A lot of book adaptations, Treasure Island, a lot of war films, colonial films, Western films. So there's a lot out there other than what we mentioned in the more hokey 70s and 80s stuff. But this seems kind of a more return to form after some of the other things. Also, at some point, go check out The Black Hole with Anthony Perkins. That's a pretty good sci-fi Disney film. So you're probably asking, what did this release against?
See you later.
This was
Not
the
great.
juggernaut Suburban Commando,
He was frozen today.
which at some
All I
point we'll
remember from the
probably
trailer.
cover Suburban Commando, but that's the only line I remember from that film.
I only remember the trailer on before one of those VHS movies from the 90s.
Yeah, for real. That and there was like some rom-com kind of trailer that went with one of the Turtle movies too, which they changed the name of it after the trailer was released, which was weird. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that seems wild that you have enough stuff that you're like, here's the trailer, and then be like, oh, but that name, let's change it real quick. Suburban Commando had released against that and other things that came out the same month. Classics such as City Slickers, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Kevin Costner's accent in it. The Naked Gun 2.5, The Reflecting Skin with Viggo Mortensen, if anybody has ever seen that. And this was directly before Terminator 2 and Boys in the Hood next month. So there was a lot of stuff to watch out in the theater during this time.
It was 92?
91.
91.
91.
So for a budget of somewhere between 35 to 40 million, it pulled in $46.5 million, making it a success, but not like a runaway
Not a runaway.
blockbuster. It was like, well, we made our money back and we made enough to maybe cover the marketing, but also like as Hollywood accounting is just its whole, like I was recently watching a video that I'll send to you guys later probably, talking about Hollywood accounting and how most movies, even when they show that profit, don't actually make a profit on the books because then they have to pay out more to all of these various people. So it's one of those things
You
of
think
like,
they got
well,
away with that?
it's like, oh, 46.5 million. We made a $6 million profit. Well, actually, once you tie in marketing and you have to tie in the fact that we had to rent our studios from ourselves, but luckily we gave it to us at a great interest rate, and we're not really going to keep that juice flowing on it. So we actually are in the whole $300 million on the Rocketeer. Like, it's all that kind of stuff.
The marketing budgets now are overinflated compared to back then? Like, do you think they're spending more money, inflation aside, on marketing today versus
like
probably
just the scale of the market?
Yeah, you have so many different kinds of marketing too.
Well, I feel like the joke is nowadays, like back then you needed word of mouth and you needed like people watch the news or read the newspaper. Nowadays it's like you just need like one TikTok clip to go viral and it's like, boom, there's your movie marketing. People are going to see this everywhere now because that's going to get shared to Reels and that's going to be on Facebook.
I was thinking about the marketing for the newest Captain America, and how, boy, that was so in your face and everywhere. I'm spacing on the actor's name who plays Falcon /
Anthony Mackie.
America.
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie, thank you. But like he was everywhere. That guy was working his ass off to promote this movie.
Oh yeah, and I love him in interviews, but it's like, give Anthony a rest, please. Let the poor man relax.
Like, it got to the point where he co-coached a Peloton class that I was on my Peloton, and I was like, come take a ride with Anthony Mackie. And I'm like, it's like, dude needs.
Was he wearing
break.
full
Come
Falcon
on.
gear?
I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, man. I mean, I took it. It was great. It was like honestly an awesome class, and he was really fun to have in it. But I was just like, dude, give him a break.
You're just Pelotoning away and you're on your left and you're like, what? This is a mono sound system. What are you talking about?
How do you think the accountants spun Avatar or Titanic?
Oh.
We didn't really make money on this. $2 billion.
Actually, all of these were real aliens that James built his own ship to go find. So we're in the whole $4 trillion.
I just imagine like most modern blockbusters are basically just like the producer movie.
I mean, probably, yeah.
Trying to tax right off.
So back to the fun, happy stuff and not the real world magic of creative accounting. Directed by Joe Johnston, who I think, like, sitting down and thinking about it, I think he might be pound for pound one of my top 5 directors. Because, like, Joe Johnston did Jumanji, Captain America, October Sky, The Pagemaster, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, this. Like, so many things. You mentioned Jurassic Park 3, but
that actually
it's the worst of the Jurassic Parks, but it's not worse than any of the worlds.
Yeah, he was also attached to the Ewok adventure. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but
it's gotten like prequel trilogy kind of vibes lately with it, because people are coming out saying that it wasn't nearly. I mean, you think it's bad when that's the only thing available until they start making newer stuff. Like, oh no, Jurassic Park 3 had its faults, but it wasn't that bad.
You just need more data points on the graph to all of a sudden see a trend of like, wait a second, actually. I remember seeing Jurassic Park 3. We were supposed to go see it for like a birthday party and we didn't. So I didn't finally see it until we were in some random hotel coming home from vacation. And it was just like, now the TNT premiere of Jurassic Park 3. And it was, it's okay. The one part that always stuck out to me was just Alan.
Yeah, that's everybody's. Mm-hmm. Everybody's first thought when you bring up the third one.
I mean, yeah, that was bad. My first thought is always, I don't think there's ever been dumber people in the history of Jurassic Park than that movie.
Jurassic Park, though.
Well, I haven't seen. Well, I saw the first Jurassic World, and yeah, I
can't argue intelligence. I'd have to like go and analyze, but you might be right.
So the written by, screenplay wise, Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, there was a huge ongoing thing with Disney during this. So originally the creator of the comic and the later co-producer on this film was Dave Stevens. So he created The Rocketeer back in the early 80s as a comic, as a throwback to all the great kind of pulp serials of the heyday of like the 1940s and things like that, and the retro future world of tomorrow kind of thing that we had in like the 40s and 50s. So he had originally sold the rights to that for the character, for that to get turned into a film. And it just kind of meandered throughout the 80s as people picked it up. People tried to do something with it. People dropped it off again, mainly because every time people were trying to change it to the extent that it was no longer the Rocketeer, Dave Stevens kind of put the creative kibosh on it of, this isn't really the Rocketeer anymore, so this doesn't really work, until they eventually ended up getting the eyes on it from Disney, who at the time wanted to make it kind of more family friendly. They ended up having another director working with them for a while, William Deere, who unfortunately, as this got delayed and delayed and delayed, he ended up having to drop off. And that's when Joe Johnston jumped on, being a fan of the comic. The thing that was interesting is they kept redoing this script so many times that they started taking things out, re-adding things, taking things out, and just did that for years. So some of the major changes was that they wanted to make it more family friendly. They took out his kind of love interest from the comics. So in the comics, it's Betty, who is just pretty much, it's just based on Betty Page, the pinup artist. So she was a nude model and all of this stuff. So they decided, yeah, that doesn't fly for if we want to do this family friendly. So that's when we ended up getting Jenny Blake, who was the aspiring actress, and all of this other stuff going on. They end up making Cliff Secord a little bit more of a aw shucks kind of all-American in the comics. It was pretty much that, but he was just a little bit more aloof, a little bit more kind of sarcastic, and a little more normal for what you would expect kind of like a young kid to be. Kind of like in his early 20s situation. So I don't know, did you guys check out any of the background or check out any of the comic stuff for this?
Well, so one thing I just wanted to comment on, like, because you mentioned that Dave Stevens had based his comic on some like older, like 1950s, 1940s serials. So there's one he actually named specifically that was his inspiration, which I have watched pre my rewatch of The Rocketeer the other night. And if you're ever interested in going back and seeing the inspiration for The Rocketeer, it's from 1952 and 1953. It's a serial called Commander Cody.
Oh, yeah.
And there's two different series. There's Commander Cody and the Radar Men from the Moon, and Commander Cody, Sky Marshal of the Universe. And they are awesome.
Also,
they
is that the coolest possible title? Sky Marshal of the Universe?
It's so good. I usually default to versus the Radar Men from the Moon because it's so ridiculous, and they have like disintegration guns in it that just turn you into vapor. But like you'll turn that on and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is the Rocketeer. Like he looks basically just like him,
yeah,
except with a much worse designed helmet. But yeah, like it's great and silly, and you immediately get like, oh yeah, like this is the Rocketeer vibe, like this, and honestly, they nail the aesthetic. Like if you went back and just recolored Commander Cody, you would be like, oh yeah, this is like the same thing.
Yeah. I miss the idea of just having like serials or having those things. Like we've talked about it with some of the like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and whatnot, of the shorts that appear before movies. I miss the idea of those types of serials that they should really bring back. Like there's so many artists out there doing really cool short films that are like 5 minutes or something. Maybe cut down on the 45 minutes of trailers and just start bringing in some new blood of like, hey, like check out a little short film that might be underneath this same studio working on the one you're about to watch. You can see it. Maybe you like the director, and maybe they use that as a jumping off point of like, yes, this is how we get this in front of more people. I would prefer that than here's a bunch of trailers that you've already seen on every single sponsored reel for the past like 4 months.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, honestly, I remember, was it Pixar for a while was doing animated shorts before their movies? And those
I think
there's like Disney as a whole, I think, too. I thought, does Disney doing it too? Like, or is it only Pixar?
Yeah. Because I remember when Frozen or Frozen 2 came out, there was a lot of backlash because kids have a hard enough time paying attention to an hour and a half long movie. And they had like some Elsa mini adventure that happened before that. So when you have 20 minutes of trailers, a 25-minute animated thing, and then the movie itself, you're sitting there for like 3.5 hours, and parents were kind of mad about it.
I'll say I don't like that the pre-video also stars the same characters as the movie. It's like, oh, well, just show us the movie.
Toy Story did that too, but I don't know if it was in the theaters or if it was on like just the DVD short, because I know there's a couple Toy Story shorts that they have made, but I haven't seen a Toy Story in theaters since the first one, so I just don't know.
Yeah, I wonder, because like Disney Plus has a whole section that's just their shorts, And I'm like, why aren't these getting like real screen time? I feel like that's a wasted opportunity to have the studios working on these shorts, and like you could totally play it before. Like, I mean, even I forget what the other studio is that does like Shrek and stuff.
DreamWorks.
Yeah.
DreamWorks.
Oh, even DreamWorks puts out shorts. I mean, one of my favorite like short series they have is they have a whole Shrek Halloween series, which is on Netflix, and you should totally watch it. It is so good.
I would not have pegged that. Not that anything's wrong with Shrek necessarily.
They eventually ended up making this after all of the problems with it and all of the delays. We eventually got Joe Johnston. I know there was a lot of discussion over all the casting. As always, it's one of those things where like, before so-and-so was cast, there were 38 other famous actors you're thinking of. And I never know if that's actually the case of like, okay, did they actually contact them? Did they actually reach out to them? Or was it just like...
I always wondered that too.
One producer rattled off 40 names in his car before we decided, actually...
It's always the same names, like whenever those movies are announced, and it's like, what's the role? It's, we need a young, fit, action type male cast. So like, all right, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, from the 90s anyway. Like, who else? Fucking Josh Hartnett. Like, it's all the same, like 6 actors that are always thrown into the ring. Will Smith.
Yeah, so
I really
Josh
wonder
Hartnett.
that.
So he fits in that group. So they ended up pushing for Joe Johnston wanted Cliff Secord to be played by Billy Campbell. I guess there was some pushback because they wanted it to be an A-list actor. But they went through a couple options. Joe Johnston pushed for that, and they ended up getting that, which, great. I like Billy Campbell in this role.
Did he have anything before this?
That's
Obviously not an A-lister, but like I wonder like where he found him. Or
that's a
anyway.
great question. He only did one movie, How Sleep the Brave. Yeah, I have no idea.
I do have to say though, while I was watching this movie, I did have a couple of moments where I was like, but why isn't it Brendan Fraser?
I was thinking the same. Well, I mean, like, granted, this is like pre-Brendan Fraser, but I was thinking,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, like,
oh, this definitely.
Yeah, because he didn't like get like found until the following year with Encino Man, but like technically I'd want like,
this is Rick O'Connell all over it.
Yeah, I want 1996 Brendan Fraser to play this.
I want 1996
been
Brendan Fraser to play a lot of things.
Yeah,
I thought it could be Billy Zane too. I don't know why. Like I feel like I could place him. And maybe it's because he kind of looks like Billy Campbell a little bit. Ish.
I would have loved Billy Zane from Demon Knight to play the Rocketeer. Ho dunk, po dunk.
Just a super asshole.
So
I
yes,
get vibes of like the Phantom too, that he could have done well in this. I've never seen the Phantom, but I know
you've never seen the Phantom.
Yeah, but there's so many movies.
He said
there.
like it's something that everyone grew up on.
Sorry, I it was a big cornerstone for me. I have The Ring and everything.
I mean, again, that was another movie that was based on the old properties of like, okay, we got the Phantom, we got the Shadow from around this time, based on the old radio show, but I miss all of those types of films now, that nowadays, if they do it, we can't just do like a love letter to those things. It always feels like we need to have some sort of like meta in joke to it all. Like when they did the Green Hornet, it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to just do the Green Hornet movie. It felt like, oh, we're going to do the Green Hornet, but clearly we're nowadays thinking and making this, which kind of ended up not making it as relatable or as lovable as something like Rocketeer.
If I had a time machine, I would... Here's my time machine fantasy. Get the original everybody. When you're making one of these sequels that's like, 20 years later, go back in time, steal all those people from right after they made that movie, bring them to the present, let them use all the shit they used to make that movie, and then it'll feel like just another one instead of it feeling like a modern day sequel. That's all.
Yeah. And while you're at it, grab 1996 Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I want to see the
him
Pulp
up.
Hero cinematic universe where the Phantom, the Shadow, the Rocketeer, Dick Tracy, and I'm trying to think what else we could throw in there. All team up.
Like the Spirit.
The new Avengers.
I mean,
I feel like that's the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen if it were to have been successful.
And women.
Well, if they didn't spend all that money on Sean Connery, it might have been.
That got him out of acting. I think it was either Dynamite Comics or IDW, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. They were doing some crossover things where it was a lot of the pulp hero properties that they had of essentially like an Avengers crossover type thing between them. And it was cool of like, here's all of these different characters that you would expect to run in circles, like the Rocketeer and the Spirit and the Shadow and all of them. And it's just, oh, here's more stories, but just still the old style, just written in modern day. So again, the writers, Denny Bilson, Paul DeMeo. Anybody remember the 90s Flash TV show? They were the creators behind the Flash TV show from the 90s.
Wow.
I used to love that show.
I don't even know if I know what that is.
I can see the intro to it in my head when they do like the whole how he gets his power, like his power is seen.
That was my favorite show to come home to on like a Sunday night or something, and it would just always be playing on like Sci-Fi Channel. They would play an episode. I don't know if I ever caught it when it was actually like on air kind of situation. It was definitely, because it didn't premiere on Sci-Fi Channel, it was definitely in syndication by that point. But yeah, other than that, they were doing a lot of the pre-hysteria stuff. So like Full Moon pictures of Trancers, Arena, Ghoulies 2, not Ghoulies Go to College, not Ghoulies 1, just the second one. But then we have the score from James Horner, who I always forget how much James Horner did, who unfortunately passed away in, I think, 2015. But the score in this is such a iconic theme that's reprised throughout the entire thing. But I mean, he was doing everything music-wise from like 48 Hours, Crawl, Something Wicked This Way Comes, Aliens, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Anything that we can think of from our childhood was probably the same 5 composers, and one of them was James Horner.
Boy, did he love horns in this score.
Who doesn't? He actually, James Horner, he won the Academy Award for My Heart Will Go On from Titanic. Huh.
Damn.
And Best Original Score.
Braveheart is what his name makes me think of.
Yeah. Also, Fievel and American Tail,
me.
Field of Dreams, Apollo 13.
Oh, no, Land Before Time.
Land Before Time. Oh, Avatar. He did a lot of work with James Cameron.
He hasn't done shit, it looks like, on his... No, he's done a lot. He's done a lot.
Oh, I thought you were going to say recently. I was going to be like, well, I do reiterate, he died in 2015.
Man, the last 10 years, he's
really got to get off his ass.
Hey, whatsoever. James, what have you done for me lately, buddy? So yeah, the only other thing that I'll just mention is we usually overlook stuff like this, but the costume designer for this film, Marilyn Vance, who at the time was going by, I think, Marilyn Vance Straker. Once I saw this and I was like, yep, I absolutely love the costume. I love the very period-centric look this entire film has, is one of the reasons why I love it. But then I looked into her work, and she did Little Monsters, Mystery Men, The Untouchables, Predator, like, not one specific genre of like, I stick to drama. It was just all over the place, and it's so many things that I think it's one of the things that I usually look to, like, who did the special effects, who did the music, and then who did the writing and directing. But costume designer, Marilyn Vance, great work.
I mean, Billy Campbell's fight jacket in this is the best thing ever.
Iconic.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The whole suit is so well magnificently created. It's
true.
I always think of that line about how to get a good character design, you want to make sure that you have their silhouette perfectly done. And the Rocketeer silhouette is always just, I mean, the jacket doesn't really work in a silhouette instance, but just seeing it, you've never seen anything else like it. The way that like it buttons over the side and has like the flaps on the shoulders. So well done.
There's only one thing that like always bothers me when I see the movie is that I wish the rocket pack was also the same brass color as his helmet.
No, I like that it's that super sharp chrome.
I just want them to match.
Do they match in the comic?
I don't think they match in the comic. I don't recall that being brass.
I don't think he wears a rocket in the comic.
What?
He just jumps hard.
Why is he called the Rocketeer?
He set off a missile at one point, and they just call him that.
He just jumps and forgets to fall.
He's just a guy who runs around with like a giant like rocket launcher. He's like, oh god, it's the Rocketeer.
RPG.
Look at me go. Yeah, that's Cliff. Don't bother him. Oxygen gets thin up there when he goes up in his plane. So yeah, the effects in this movie, Industrial Light and Magic, but Rick Baker worked with Greg Nelson specifically on the Lothar makeup in this to make the kind of gigantism-looking, giant-esque Lothar that for years as a child, my father said, "Did you know that's just how that guy looks?" And I never questioned him.
Love being able to troll kids like that. It's like, yeah, it's just those were real dinosaurs in that movie. That park actually closed down. Do you want to go? They're opening.
It lasted until I was like 27.
I mean,
And then I finally ended up looking it up and being like, wait a second. Wait, what? Because I wanted to see like, hey, did this guy play in anything else? And it's like, yeah, he played in a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, that's weird. His face isn't the same.
Who's his plastic surgeon?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see part of that. Like, Princess Bride, yeah, Andre the Giant is in fact that huge. And it might be like, oh, maybe they faked that, but no.
So
actually, the rocket in the comics looks nothing like how it looks in the movie. And I actually like the movie version better.
When you first see Lothar in that hospital scene, it took me a second because, there's a lot of contrasting shadows and stuff going across his face. It's like, oh, he looks gnarly. And I wasn't sure at first if it was a prosthetic, but then it was confirmed when he speaks. I'm like, okay, that's prosthetic.
Or it's the rocket.
At the end of the movie, listening and looking at him, I was like, wait a second. He looks and sounds kind of like just Mr. Boogedy from Walt Disney's Mr. Boogedy. That endeared him more to me. So yeah, we'll go briefly just mention the cast because this cast is wild, but it makes sense that it's a Walt Disney film, so they got the budget for it. Billy Campbell as Cliff, our Cliff Secord pilot hero, a young Jennifer Connelly as Jenny, Alan Arkin as his best pal Peavy, who is somewhat kind of responsible for him, it seems, but also handles all of the mechanical side.
I was honestly amazed that they were able to get the funding to get the Baron to play Neville Sinclair.
Did you also love his British German accent at the end of this film?
It was so good.
But yeah, Timothy Dalton is Neville Sinclair. I know they went through a couple guys before they ended up landing on Timothy Dalton, but I think he ends up playing this so well of jumping between the charming and sinister part to this that it feels like everybody was bringing more than what would have been required of them for a comic book family movie from around this time.
Yeah, they played it. They played it pretty
he
well.
honestly does it so good. Like, because he's parodying Errol Flynn, and I love the in-universe nod to the whole concept that in Hollywood at the time there was a lot of speculation that Errol Flynn was a Nazi sympathizer. And so they just dialed that up to 10.
Yeah, because I guess there was some British author who did a biography or a whatever on Errol Flynn and ended up talking about all of that of yep, and Errol Flynn was a Nazi sympathizer, was a secret Nazi spy or something. And then for years, it finally got refuted of somebody coming out and being like, well, no, he wasn't. That's all a lie for you to sell books. So seeing as this ended up taking place in between all of that happening, they're like, oh yeah, we'll do it like Errol Flynn. But yeah, I think it's something, especially once you look into around that time, the number of different business people or different actors and actresses and all of this that were somehow either involved, I don't know, spies, but it's just kind of interesting of there's all of this intrigue from around that time that unless you really kind of dig into it, it's oh, that would be a fun movie. Give me all of the Hollywood spy action.
Yeah, they were just they took a rumor and they're yeah, but what if he was though? And what if he was a really good one?
Well, so I like that they added Neville Sinclair because in the comic, that wasn't the case. So the whole thing of the whole Nazi angle of them looking for the rocket pack and then Neville Sinclair being the contact and all of these things, that wasn't in there. So I think that ends up making this really interesting in the film. And it's one of those things that it benefits from having the creator of the comic being the producer on this, of getting that input and being able to make sure things stay on target of, yeah, that's a great storyline, or yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense in the world that I created. So in this case, it ends up improving it rather than like, wow, they went way off book and ended up ruining some great stories, which is the case with unfortunately, a lot of the comic stuff here and there of like, so we pulled 4 great story arcs from the comics and butchered all of them and combined them into one. We took it, we riffed on it, and we made it better.
I mean, to kind of go back a second, like that's the same story that happened with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like the comic was in production. The studio loved the story, bought the rights to it, and then produced the movie before the first comic had ever even come out. And they were just like, "Oh, we love this concept. Let's make a movie." And the comic writer's like, "I don't even have a story yet." And they're like, "We'll come up with something."
Look at this cast. What could go wrong?
They're like, "I love this idea. Let's make a story." It's like, "Oh, this is not anything like what I was planning." All right.
And then some of our kind of supporting parts that are still terrific in this. We have Paul Sorvino as the head of the mobsters, Eddie Valentine, the great Terry O'Quinn as Howard Hughes.
Paul Sorvino, the best villain heel turn ever. Like,
yeah.
Such a good heel turn.
We'll get to it, but that's like my favorite moment even aside from the Rocketeer in
that
the Rocketeer,
one shot,
that one sequence, and
one shot.
Yeah.
So I didn't see The Aviator, and I have to imagine this is a very happy portrayal of Howard Hughes in this movie, right? The nicest Howard Hughes that's ever been portrayed.
I was gonna say, you mean Tony Stark?
I love this version of Howard Hughes as just like
good-hearted Howard Hughes.
Yeah, good-hearted. He just wants to invent things and just loves his country but doesn't want to make weapons and but yeah, rather than like the reclusive agoraphobe Howard Hughes hiding out in his film room and all of this stuff. So yeah, great cast in this movie. We'll get across some of the people as we go along in here, but I think we'll get to that one sequence, and it kind of reminds me of some of the DC Marvel crossover stuff. But before we get into this film, anything else that anybody wants to preamble before we kick this off?
Citation needed that originally it was supposed to be preceded in theaters by a Roger Rabbit cartoon called Hair in My Soup.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the cartoon wasn't made. Just thought that was interesting in the IMDb trivia, considering we had done Roger Rabbit recently, that, hey, cool, they actually, he was still in the zeitgeist at that point in time.
I feel like Roger Rabbit has the legs for them to continue doing shorts, and people would just be like, this is a fun thing. Give me a Roger Rabbit short before all of this. It's a perfect cartoon to play around with like meta humor and all of this stuff. And I don't know why they ended up dropping it so far ago.
I will say that Jennifer Connelly, still beautiful today, but Jennifer Connelly in her prime, which is this movie, probably one of the prettiest actresses of all time.
Yes.
Like all time. She's very pretty. She's gorgeous. That's all.
Yes.
I think Labyrinth, had a crush on her in Labyrinth, but like now she's grown up here in this movie somewhat, so it's like...
It was also funny, like her...
I could talk about it.
Her costuming in this movie also was... I feel like they were trying to portray her as the classic like 1950s like airplane pinup in all of her costuming.
Which makes sense.
Oh, makes
seen as like
sense.
The character in the comics. It's like, okay, but we'll just take the idea of like the more like cheesecake photo pinup kind of thing, and we'll just turn it more into like a win for our boys back home kind of stuff, like classic Hollywood starlet.
Like 100%. Like in certain costuming, I think one of her outfits in the beginning when like she first goes on a date with Billy Campbell, and I like looking at her costuming, the way the makeup's done, I'm just like, oh, she is just like, they looked at the paintings on like World War II planes and were just like, make this a person. And they were just like, all right, yeah, sure, let's do it.
And it's like that One Amazing Stories episode where they like spill the chemicals over the photo and all of a sudden it just like comes to life.
Yeah.
And they're like, great, cast her in something. So out of the gate in this movie, we get that beautiful James Horner theme and a great opening shot of the barn doors being opened to prep the planes at this, whatever it's called, airfield that they have going on. Cliff and Peavy review the GB plane that he's testing out, and I love the ongoing Good Luck Beeman's gum, which is why I have always had my own Beeman's gum.
I mean,
Every time I bring it up,
Get out of
says,
here.
the hell you do.
I loved the reference to Beeman's gum because that was like the actual lucky gum of 1940s pilots.
Yeah.
Well, in my defense, Tim, you were like, I carry it around everywhere. I've never seen you carry it around. Of all things that you don't show off and like
He doesn't
mention
share
or
it.
even offer to other people, you've had it kept away in your pocket for years.
It's 5
You
sticks
never
a pack.
mentioned it.
You don't share that.
It's actually it's the same pack. He doesn't chew it. He just carries it around.
I mean, for the longest time, they stopped making it, so it was tough to find. And then I had to go to like all of these weird, like penny candy, old-fashioned ordering things to try to find it.
Rocket Fizz.
And now it's just kind of back in circulation in general, which is terrific. But unfortunately, over the years, they ended up changing the formula. Were you about to talk about why it was the pilot's gum, David?
I was not. I did not go that far.
Oh, okay. So originally back in like the 1800s or so it was Dr. Edward Beeman from, I think it was like Ohio or something like that. But he ended up creating the gum that had pepsin and bicarbonate of soda, which is just baking soda. And it ended up having this kind of stomach settling property. It ended up having like an anti-nausea effect to some degree. So they ended up having that a lot for eventually pilots, because early days of planes and things like that, there was a lot of turbulence. There was a lot of kind of ruggedness to the machines. So they ended up chewing Beeman's gum to, whether it actually did or it was psychosomatic, to settle their stomachs and be able to kind of help them with flying. And it ended up becoming this kind of pilot's good luck gum for ages from there. And then eventually, like, they changed the formula. They took the pepsin out or something like that. So they still have the same taste, but they don't have that same effect to it specifically. And then the Rocketeer just took it and decided, yep, let's just cement this, have a wonderful kind of little nostalgic throwback to the pilot's gum. And it just kind of took off from there of, oh, well, yeah, now definitely it is.
Yeah, I mean, someone should have showed them like candied ginger, but you know.
Yeah, but have you tried Tums? Tums, the pilot's candy. My tummy's just a little funny, you know? So what were you saying, Dean?
Oh, the pilot's skills, they notice increase when they remove the cocaine from the gum in the ingredients list.
But their flight times decreased. So, yeah, we end up having the airfield with Cliff and Peavy, who are testing out the GB because they're going to end up taking it for racing in nationals. But meanwhile, Los Angeles, 1938, we have criminals escaping in a car and firing at the police chasing them. And Cliff ends up seeing all this action from the air as he flies overhead and unfortunately gets shot down by gangsters.
And the most like dick move ever, like just like in a car chase with the feds shooting at each other. You just see a plane overhead. Hey, I'm going to shoot at that too. Like, why not? I'm going to ruin this guy's day.
Because, I mean, what are they going to expect? Like, they see a plane, they're like, it's got to be a feds plane. Really? Like a bright yellow?
Bright yellow police plane? Sure. Yeah.
Unless they're just assuming it's like that one loose cannon cop who has his own, like, biplane, bright yellow. He's going to roll out with a pistol.
And also, like, Cliff in
there was a lot of those
the most
around.
claustrophobic plane I've ever seen in my life. Gets the plane shot, the windshield. It's not even a windshield. It's just this little bubble in front of his face.
Like a windscreen.
The windscreen is shattered. He has oil in his face. I'm like, this is bad. This looks, I would never fly again, I think.
Which I guess Billy Campbell originally had a fear of flying and had to go through all this stuff ahead of time to try to curb that for some of the sequences and things. But I love the look of the flying sequences in the film just because all of the aerial shots look like they're actual aerial shots. Even whether they have some sort of like kind of screening behind it or not, it looks more realistic than when you look at it and you just have like, well, clearly that's a green screen. We just have an actor like in the foreground against a green screen. This ends up looking a little bit more realistic.
There was nothing in the air?
Wait, what?
Are we sure there's nothing? Are we sure there was nothing in the air?
There were real planes used.
Yeah.
Because the lighting in some shots, I'm like, he turns and like the sun is hitting him. It's like I looked pretty legitimate.
Oh yeah,
The effects where they used it were amazing. I mean, even later on with the matte the matte composed shots of the rocket flying like toward the people, and I know that was a fake shot, but it looked solid. And even this, apparently in the trivia for this, the actual planes used, they're called like the GB Racers, were nicknamed like the Widowmaker and Flying Coffin because they were so difficult to fly and prone to crashing that, you know, the speed and maneuverability was enough to keep the pilots wanting to use them despite that danger. But yeah, that's kind of terrifying. Like, yeah, these things are known to kill people. Like, let's use them.
Got to make the nationals.
So we end up getting the gangster tries to stash their goods in the workshop barn, and one of them ends up getting shot. Cliff lands the plane on the runway on fire with one wheel as the gangster drives his car directly into a gas car. Just nothing else in the area, just a gas car, and he just ends up driving directly into it and just blowing up.
I like that running gag.
It does happen, what, 3 times, 2
My
times?
cabbages. My petroleum.
So yeah, then Peavy and the feds argue over who's responsible for all of the plane damage, and then Cliff ends up slugging one of the feds over taunting him. And I like how the partner to the guy, so the guy who's like the jerk fed the entire time, Ed Lauder, playing Fitch, his partner ends up agreeing with Cliff of like, you're kind of asking for that one, that's kind of on you for getting slugged.
That's a federal offense.
I also feel like when Cliff punches the Fed, he expected the guy to go down, and he just doesn't.
He just punches him back.
Yeah,
hits him right back.
Like the way Cliff leans into, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna slug this guy," and he's just like, "All right, I'm gonna punch you right back now."
He slugs him. He slugs him back, and he's like, "Hey, you're not too bad."
or
they low five.
You have the reverse, and what is that meme from like it's like a Japanese professional wrestling where like they just grab each other by the shoulder and just like punching each other in the face, just like blow for blow.
So they end up calling off the search for the goods because they end up talking with Howard Hughes. They have his kind of new device that they're talking about, but they find something burnt in the wreckage. They think that it's whatever it was that they were looking for and kind of call it off. Howard Hughes ends up arguing in his office that he doesn't want to build a new device because the other one got destroyed. Now that he knows about the whole situation, he doesn't want to make weapons. He doesn't want to give this to anybody that can misuse it, which is the age-old thing of, like you said, like a Tony Stark or something like that, of like the change of heart of I don't make weapons anymore. Again, like I love this version of Howard Hughes. I know that it's probably not anything like real life. I've seen The Aviator. I like to imagine this is exactly how he was.
I mean, in my head, I was just like, "Oh, this is Tony Stark." Like, I mean, he even kind of looks. He doesn't look like Tony. He looks like
Stark.
Howard, like a lot. So I was just like, "Oh yeah, it's Howard Stark. It's fine. I can make peace with that." Just alternate universe.
But yeah, so he ends up taking the 1939 World's Fair magazine and throwing it into the fire, which is something that they should bring back. I never got to exist for the World's Fair, but I feel like that's just something that would be cool to experience of here's all the cool tech and all the cool things that we're coming out with from around the world, and just have an entire timeline dedicated to just going and checking it out like a Tomorrowland situation.
I mean, it'll be 45% more expensive now, but you know.
And it'd probably just mostly be AI anyway.
That's true. It's like I don't see everybody's AI.
You know, they say whenever you're about to go into a recession, you'll see a resurgence of certain things and trends that come back through. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see another World's Fair happen in a couple months.
Come check out the World's Fair and then go to the bread line. The 2025 depression begins.
It's like, oh wow, it really is. We really did go back in time, didn't we?
I just want to say Billy Kimball was in a plane. Like he was in like the rear cockpit, like for those head-on shots where it's just his face on the plane. That was real.
Well, that makes sense then on why he had to work with people to get over his fear of flying, because it's like, I don't even want to get into a plane to be put in a mat shot.
It was great footage.
What's-
Yeah. I thought it looked too real
It'd
to
be
be
like
fake.
being afraid of horses and also merry-go-rounds.
And rockets and fire.
So the owner of the airfield, or the guy that they're dealing with, Bigelow, who is John Polito, that people might know from a lot of things, but he is the loudmouth owner of this airfield. So Petey and Cliff get roped into doing the clown act for him to pay off the plane and the damages that ended up happening. And instead, they find Howard Hughes' jetpack and accidentally activate it, which, again, like you said, Nick, I think the prop for the jetpack in this, or the rocket pack, is so cool. I know they've changed the look of it in the comics, I guess, a couple times. I would have to take a look to see specifically of, did the look of it change over time post Rocketeer movie, or what the case was. But I love the look of the movie version that they have here. I'm surprised we don't see more people cosplaying the Rocketeer in like Comic-Con or any of the convention scenes.
I know, right? I mean, you figure with the advent of 3D printing, this would be pretty easy to make, because you can easily make your own Stormtrooper, Mandalorian, Halo, Helldiver, anything that has a helmet nowadays. You can pretty much 3D print, and that's not too difficult to make. And the jetpack, I think, would be in the same vein of doing something like a Ghostbuster proton pack, and it's just, you want to make it kind of heavy and, you know, have electrical parts in it, and it's not that far off that I'm surprised you don't see it more.
So, dear listeners, if any of you have ever done a Rocketeer cosplay for conventions, point us in that direction, just because I really feel like it's either an untapped thing that's out there, or it pops up all the time and I'm just completely oblivious to it. But
I might have just seen one at WonderCon.
What's his name? Adam Savage has a outfit for the Rocketeer.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because he cosplays, but of course he has like the ultimate budget to make whatever the hell he wants.
So he is the rocket.
It's a real rocket too, probably.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, it just takes off.
Oh, it's
Stand clear.
so funny.
What?
You can just buy a Rocketeer helmet on Amazon.
That's awesome.
Which, so evidently, originally, when it switched over to Disney, they wanted to change the helmet. They wanted like an astronaut helmet for the Rocketeer, and I guess they fought on it of like, no, we're not going to do that. And I think it goes along with, I think the reasoning was they complained about the silhouette for the one that they were using. Like you had mentioned, Nick, of like, you need to have that great silhouette for an iconic character. So I guess Dave Stevens ended up working with a sculptor and created the helmet that ends up getting used in the film. And they ended up taking a look at it and deciding like, no, yeah, this one's perfect. Like this will work for everybody. And that's what we ended up in this, which I don't know how, looking at this helmet, there was ever a consideration for anything other than like, oh yeah, this is perfect. Like you look at the helmet and you're like, yeah, this is an iconic helmet. Like everybody would see this and then know, yeah, that's the Rocketeer.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's unlike really like any other design.
I put 2 pictures on our Discord to show like the previous backpack, but isn't that the helmet though? It looks exactly the same. Maybe some tweaks to it, but I mean it's still almost exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I think they changed the fin and some of it's mainly the same, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like going to be a lot more different than that.
Yeah, it's not like wildly different.
Oh, yeah. I mean, plus it not only looks amazing, but I mean, they built in the fin to have a purpose as a rudder in the movie itself. So, like, yeah, it looks ridiculous if you're just looking at it, but without any other kind of like means of
flight helmet.
Yeah, without any means of controlling the jetpack, you need something, and that's pretty brilliant. Just like, yeah, no, just use your head. That's how you fly.
Give him little wing boots. He has to put his heels together so this way they form the tail rotor.
The thing I never understood, though, with jetpacks being in any kind of sci-fi movie and genre is how the hell do you not burn your ass off? You know, like
Yeah, you would. So
it's
that's
strapped
the problem.
directly above your butt, whether it's not your ass
just
or your
pretends.
legs. I don't know how you.
Every
can,
scene of this movie is Cliff Secord landing butt naked, just burnt to a cinder.
I'm saying he just flies and like holds his knees to his chest, just like flies in a cannonball.
I do know they mentioned in the movie at one point, I know they mentioned that the way the the pack was built that there was no heat on the outside of the pack because he said it's cool to the touch. I doubt that
Double chamber.
I know the pack they said that. I don't know if it's like and all the flame coming out the back. It's cool to the touch. It's cool flame.
The igniters were forged in the heart of Mordor. It's like so. It's quite cool.
So yeah, I'm surprised we didn't end up having the Rocketeer with like, I don't know, steel wool chaps or something in this movie just to.
You have to.
Yeah, I imagine it's like armored pants that he was going to be wearing.
You have to fly with your body perfectly straight. It was like there's a couple comic book references about like Wolverine when he unsheaths his claws, how he has to keep his forearms perfectly straight. Did you ever see these?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I can't remember what happened, but there was like one time he did it and like his wrist was bent, so the claws came out his hand because he can't bend his hands.
Oh, that would be horrifying. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah, there was
That's not malleable.
There was a comic where they did it, and I can't remember if he had like amnesia or something, but like someone had to like teach him like how he has to keep his arms perfectly, like his wrists have to be locked when his claws are out, otherwise his claws will just cut through his hands.
Huh.
Excuse me 1 second while I fix this.
So yeah, geez. I don't remember where we were after we got into all that. So, yeah, they end up finding the Howard Hughes jetpack and end up activating it. And then Cliff immediately tries to put it on once they realize that it has a wearable harness. So they cut down a statue to attach the pack to do some test runs, which we'll get to. But in the meantime, we have the gangster Eddie Valentine discussing with Neville Sinclair that his men died and the package disappeared, so he needs to know what they've gotten into now because of all of this. And for some reason, growing up, I was thinking back, and I remember not having the reveal that Neville Sinclair was working with the bad guys this early, but it's like right out of the gate, they let you know Neville Sinclair is the bad guy, and then it's just not revealed until later that it's like, no, he's like the bad guy.
Really bad.
This is the movie that's the reminder for everybody every so often, like, Nazis are the bad guy. Like, there was a time in video games and movies where it's just like, well, we need a bad guy. You want to do Nazis? Nobody's going to disagree with us. Go ahead. So we find out later that Neville Sinclair is a Nazi spy. So he ends up, Sinclair admits that what is it exactly? Like, it's a rocket, like in the comic books. In a way that normally that would end up feeling too meta, but it kind of just lands here for us. And then Sinclair pulls a sword on Eddie when he laughs at him for asking where his man is holed up in the hospital, which is why I was thinking, like, Timothy Dalton does a terrific job jumping between that charming and threatening in this film. And then I like how Paul Sorvino, like, meets him every way in every scene that the two of them have together.
Quick, officer, arrest me. I'm a killer and slasher. For prices.
So Sinclair ends up calling his boy Lothar, who we hear listening to the opera, but we don't see him yet, and he's given the task by Sinclair to go go take care of this guy. He's the gangster who survived after the other one was shot in the barn, and he stowed away the rocket pack, and he got caught. He's now in the hospital, so they need to find out where this was and then get rid of this loose end.
Send him on a vacation somewhere.
We're going to take care of you for the next 6 months on this lovely Carnival cruise.
The cruise is also cursed.
Maybe that's on me. Looking at his face, I judged him harshly. Yes.
In the hospital scene coming up, I couldn't tell if he was also broken in half like the other victims. But like, I got real like Men in Black vibes from that whole thing.
Yeah,
I gave him a break.
Which I guess originally, I want to say, was it Vincent D'Onofrio that turned down the role of Cliff Secord, or he turned down Neville Sinclair? He turned down something for this movie.
That
supposedly.
sounds familiar.
But that means we almost had
Jenny.
Jenny. Cliff, I wanted to have dinner with you. So yeah, we end up having Peavy and Cliff staking the statue into the ground to test out this rocket pack. And as it's spinning in circles, it ends up undoing the stake and taking off into the sky and kind of barely avoiding the re-entry on this thing shooting past them. And then Cliff's immediate response is, oh, we can turn this into money. We'll just do this at the air show, and this is how we'll make all of our cash, after narrowly surviving this.
I mean, he's a pilot. He's used to that kind of extreme danger, and especially with the way that those older planes were built. Not surprised.
True,
So, like, what's this?
He normally drives the Widowmaker.
I also feel like he was also just kind of excited to use it. He just needed an excuse. He was like, "Oh man, I want to fly this thing. What? Why? Why would I do this? Money,
money." I mean, actually, I say that, but if we ended up finding the Rocketeer pack one day, I would just be like, "Let's do this." I would be dead within 24 hours.
I mean, the only thing is that like we would also look around and be like, "Oh, I could do this to make money," and be like, "Could you though? Would anyone pay to see that?"
Oh, of course. Come on, Peavy. We're not doing this for the money. We're doing this for a shitload of money.
Like, where would you do it? How would you market it? How would you get tickets for that? Like, it's way more complicated in like today's society if we found a rocket pack and wanted to charge money for people to watch.
I mean, then again, all you need is one person to just film it and just be like, yeah, I just ruined your entire business model.
It's like, I put
it's on TikTok now.
Here it is. It's like, oh, but people want to come see it, right? It's like, no, they don't. They just want to sit at home and watch the video.
Yeah.
We do have rocket men now. More like a quadcopter men.
I know we have the water-based ones, and it functions like a jetpack, but it uses just the pressure of the hose and stuff. It's not as impressive.
Right.
I want to do that someday.
It would be
Although,
fun.
by comparison, would it be that much more impressive? I mean, I'm trying to think. If we had rocket packs and they were like, the military had them, like, would I care? I'm like, I don't know.
Have you seen there's the one that like literally like Tony Stark. I think they're on his feet and hands.
Ones. Yeah, I've seen that. I saw a video of it, and I was like, oh,
that's pretty intense.
Right. I don't know. I think
it's a time and a place too. The way that when the Howard Hughes later on at the end of the movie is like, many Bothans died in order to bring us this film tape, and he plays it and it shows like just hundreds of Nazis overrunning the like Washington because they have all the jetpacks. Like, I don't think that's the end all be all military weapon.
I mean,
division of
what they didn't show was them being all cut down by 50 caliber.
I was gonna say they also have planes and aircraft carriers, so like
as they're all just flying mobile bombs on their back. Shot with a fuel tank.
Like a Rocketeer would be substantially smaller than the Mustangs and the other ships that they would have, or the other planes that they had at that point in time. But I still don't think. I mean, even during World War II,
more maneuverable.
Yeah, during World War II, didn't Nazis just like shoot the paratroopers out of the sky? I mean, these
guys are going.
That's the thing.
200 miles an hour.
Would a Rocketeer be any more effective than a cargo plane full of paratroopers?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I just don't think so.
They're not going to get shot down with the technology, though. If they're that maneuverable.
Yeah, but the only thing is, okay, great. They can't be shot at because they're moving that quickly. So how are they going to shoot back? They'll have to.
They also can't.
Land.
I mean, I think it's more.
Yeah.
They also can't shoot back until they're like pretty close to land. I mean, like the guns don't have infinite range.
I think it's more of an invasion tool. Like we can get a fuckload of guys all at the same time behind your lines, and
but they have boats.
But also, I'm sorry,
boats.
But that means
and
what?
Submarines.
Yeah, so that means they're going to use the jetpacks from Germany. What fuel efficiency? We're actually
they never did put more fuel in this. They never put more fuel in this rocket backpack.
That's true, and
actually,
I know at one point. So
he even says it runs on alcohol.
I don't know how that science matches up, but
I mean, unless it's the same idea behind, like when they have the the rubbing alcohol little fire pit things of just like, oh, you pour alcohol in and light it on fire. It's like, I mean, I guess it's flammable. Does that mean it's all combustible? Like, is that enough to create the rocket-powered turbine to...
I wouldn't think so.
Are they having to, like, just carrying jugs of moonshine over the Atlantic Ocean, refilling to keep this thing going.
I mean, they have refuel rocket men. Doing mid-air refuel
on their back.
Make contact in the air.
They just have giant tanks, and like you have specific rocket men who have like double packs, and they're just there to refuel.
But then there's nobody to refuel them, so they just know they're going into this mission to just plunk into the Atlantic Ocean and just die.
They get halfway through. It's like a NASA shuttle.
We'll pick you up later.
Falling off.
We'll pick you up at some point. But they didn't have aircraft. Did they? Didn't have aircraft carriers, did they?
Well, I mean, that's how they like bombed Hiroshima and from aircraft carriers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of World War One. I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
Yeah. This is just before World War II, or I guess just before the U.S. entered.
Yeah, they were about to invade Poland.
If you're wondering how they would get rocket men to America, may I point you just to the end of the movie?
Oh yeah, how did they all get here?
That huge apparatus.
I'm just like, how did nobody see the blimp? No one saw the blimp.
Well, also,
This giant
teased it
structure
in the
with a huge
beginning.
swastika that goes 10 miles an hour.
That's the thing that I didn't get, because in the beginning of the movie, when they go to when Jenny and Cliff go to the movies, they show that, you know, the Zeppelin is touring around, but I thought it was an American ship, but maybe I was wrong.
Well, I thought there was something in the newsreel talking about, like, it was like Hitler's rise or something, but then they were like, also the Luxembourg German Zeppelin is going on its peace tour, and it's like, wait a second. I was like, I don't know about that one.
It's just that Simpsons episode where, like, you have the Russian ambassador at the UN, and he's like, we at the USSR, they're like, the USSR, I thought you guys broke up. And then, like, tanks just come out of the floats, and it turns out Stalin is still alive, and he breaks out of his coffin.
Oh, yeah, it was doing its peace tour around the U.S., and it does have the swastika right on the rear rudder of the Zeppelin.
Oh, is this an actual historical thing that we just don't know about?
I don't know. I mean,
like
also, again, this is
pre-World War II, like we were...
Yeah.
Oh, so the newsreel was saying it was in America.
Yeah, because this was also like in some of the news clippings, you see that like Hitler's amassing, and he's just outside Poland. He hasn't invaded it yet.
Wait, so that's what's in conjunction with the peace tour Zeppelin? War about to break out in Poland. Also, peace tour Zeppelin from the same guys about to invade Poland.
We want you to keep the peace with us.
It's kind of a one-way street here on the peace. So yes.
Okay, that's all clear now. It's all clear now.
So I'm glad we settled all of that. So Cliff ends up picking up Jenny from what I assume like is the boarding house, and the woman who runs it just tells her if he tries anything, deck him. And I like how Cliff jumps in and he's like, "Yes, warden." Which it feels more like the comic Cliff of like, it's not entirely the aw shucks. It's like he is a little bit more like aware and a little more jokey in that regard. But yeah, they end up going to see a Neville Sinclair movie and see the pre-movie newsreel about like Hitler's rise and the Luxembourg Zeppelin. And then in a bit of bedside manner, we find that Lothar is like a heavy thug with some sort of like gigantism, and he finds out where the rocket is and then kills the witness by folding him like laundry. And then the cop and the nurse that are in the next room arrive to find him hanging dead from the bed, while Lothar gingerly baby steps away from the ledge back into hiding. Because I like how he's like...
That was the silliest
He looks
shuffle.
out the window, and the cop's like, nothing. And you're like, oh, he's just there. But then they hold on that scene like an extra 4 seconds, and you just see Lothar taking the tiniest steps of like... and he just like slowly moves out of frame.
He does.
Because, oh no, they're going to get me.
There's a lot of scenes in this movie that I'm surprised that Disney actually did it and didn't throw like what's one of their other like not TriStar but like the
Touchstone or something.
Touchstone. That's what I was thinking
yeah.
of, or just some other company that they own. They just didn't want to put their name specifically on it because it's as serialized as a lot of the action scenes are, and it's very clear like they're the bad guys and these are the good guys, and the violence is very toned down, but there's enough gun violence in this and just like serious scenes where, wow, Disney actually was willing to do that.
Yeah, the intimidation later in the diner, like that was intense.
From what I remember is I thought it wasn't originally going to be Walt Disney Pictures. I think it was going to be Touchstone, and that at some point it switched, and then it became, they decided to do it under Walt Disney instead. And that's when they had to make some additional edits to things. But yeah, like I guess it was originally geared up that they were planning to do it through Touchstone to leave some of those things in. And then when they switched it over, it was just kind of like, it's not terrible. Like there's no language really. There's no like gross violence. I think also
There's a shot
back
of
then,
Alan Arkin's ass on the cutting room floor.
no, Cliff Secord says he just burns his pants clean off his body on the first rocket pack. Just cheeks flapping in the wind as he's going 185 miles an hour.
Clapping.
Listen, Peeve, it's all for me. That's not the crowd, Cliff.
Oh,
jeez. So yeah, we end up going to the Bulldog Cafe, the diner that they're hanging out at, which is from the comics as well. I guess Dave Stevens shared a lot of the blueprints and a lot of the artwork and things like that from his work on creating the comic, and they just kind of turned a lot of that into sets directly, or turned a lot of it into things, which is great. I'm assuming as a creator of being able to watch like, yep, this is something I thought up in my head, I drew it, and you just created this exactly, when you can easily have just decided like, oh yeah, it's just going to be like a normal town diner now or something.
You know, the funny thing with that scene too, or at least the diner specifically, is you don't know it's a dog until they hide out in it later.
Yeah.
Because it's close-up shots at first, and then when they're hiding out in the head of the dog, I'm like, what the hell is this building? And you start to see finally like
right.
this like long shots of the full exterior, and it's so weird and different, but not in a good way.
Then at the end, they take it a step further, and Alan Arkin's like, we have to help Cliff activate the Bulldog, and it's like a mech suit. It stands up and starts running.
It puts a jetpack on. It's like the Rocketeer dog.
Also blows its own pants off, and it's flying after him. We have got to work on this pack. We find out later Howard Hughes did that intentionally. It's more of a gag from me.
We did it as a joke, you see.
So yeah, we end up meeting the motley crew of diner regulars who accidentally tell Jenny about the crash, and then she gets angry that Cliff kept it from her, which understandable that it's just like, yep, just a day at work. And it's like, well, a day at work where you got shot at, your plane almost exploded, you barely got out alive, and then got stopped by the feds. So Cliff
lost your livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like that Cliff is the only person who thought it was fine that he didn't tell Jenny, because like the guy at the diner says it like so matter-of-factly, and then Jenny's like, what? And he's like, oh, like everyone expected Jenny to have already known about this. Like,
well, I mean, JK, Jenny.
It's like, oh, he almost died. It was funny. We thought he was dead, man. It's like, yeah.
Threw a funeral and everything for him. So Cliff and Jenny get into that fight, and then she leaves before he can apologize, because I like that everybody at the diner, so like I think her name was Millie, the woman running the diner, she even tells him like, you're an idiot, go after her, like fix this, you're in the wrong. And the guy who ends up telling Jenny about this, Malcolm, ends up apologizing that, oh, I didn't know about this, which in the comic, so Malcolm is a little less likable, because he ends up talking about briefly in this and how like, oh, he's not flying really anymore. He's not flying anymore because in the comics he got all of his like permits and licenses pulled because he had been drinking so often while flying that they pulled everything. So that's the reason why later it's like, oh, when Malcolm goes up in the plane, he shouldn't be there and people are worried, because it's not like he just hasn't flown in a long time.
I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, so it's not.
He had all the clown makeup on. I like the revelation of, I had no idea he was the clown until literally
Now
just
you
now. And I've seen
know.
this movie so many times.
So yeah, like also I like that for the little time we get to spend with the diner crew, we've already set up like the understanding of like that community closeness of all of them. Like we get a lot of personality out of them, even though we don't have a lot of screen time or a lot of like just raw exposition of thanks, Millie, when I met you back when I moved, like all of that kind of stuff, which I appreciate. So Peavy tells Cliff as well that he's stupid for not appreciating Jenny. And Cliff wakes up at Peavy's to end up finding that he's been working on an absolutely iconic helmet that he does not appreciate. Because Cliff looks at it and is like, yeah, cool. And it's like, no, this is the helmet.
I like how you see him making it too.
Alan Arkin shirtless with goggles just pounding in a blacksmith
I was gonna say,
room.
it's like we were a few steps away from an Iron Man 1, like fully forging in the desert.
Peavy built this in a garage with a box of scraps. So we end up going to the movie set where Jenny is working as an extra on the Neville Sinclair film, and Sinclair is sword fighting up the staircase and rides his way down, and then the woman who is in the scene with him ends up completely ruining her line. It's the of your eyes or lips that I drink so deeply. And I just love that Timothy Dalton's face of like he's in the scene and immediately it's just like disgust and disdain. And it's kind of just like, okay, cut.
I mean, he hasn't worked with Gal Gadot. He's clearly working with an Oscar winner right now. He just doesn't know it yet.
So Jenny and her friend are background extras on the scene. And meanwhile, Cliff is sneaking onto set looking to apologize to Jenny and does it with the only way he knows how, ruining the set and ruining the scene by knocking it down onto Neville Sinclair just after the actress finally gets her line correct. And I like the like quick shots to the director on the side of just like ecstatic, like thumbs up kind of stuff of like, oh my God, you got the line.
It did sound better.
I mean, also because it was like when they mess up the first time, like you hear him call out for like when they do the scene again, and they're on take 28 of a fully choreographed 20-something people fight sequence. Like,
and it's single, that's single
day.
Long take. That is, I don't like how they kicked Cliff out for that. I would have fired the set designer or like the guy that's responsible for constructing the set.
He just like barely touched it, right?
He did. I don't even think he did. I mean, he kind of leaned in and just maybe the shifting of the weight was enough to cause it to topple over. That's entirely the set designer's fault. That's not Cliff's.
Well, I mean,
Put some light pressure in the set.
Yeah, but the director isn't going to stand there and be like, "Hey, you stranger who came onto our closed set, you can stay, but set designer, you're fired."
Hey, stranger who ruined our set, are you union? No, get out. It's a lot easier to fire him.
It could be something that comes up later during lunch. Hey, wait a minute. I do have to say that I know there's more to the scene, but Timothy Dalton, I think earlier you were saying like how he plays this charming actor. I'm like, this whole thing where he injures his co-star or the other actor and like immediately jumps to like take him to my car to the hospital, and like he sounds so pleasant and like just like such a nice guy. Like, you could have been this guy. You could have just not been a Nazi spy and just had a happy life here as the number 3 box office star.
It's such an easy choice of like, you could have just been rich and successful and just not been the worst ever.
I mean, you kind of wonder though, like which is really the real him? Like,
true.
I mean, Timothy Dalton, he switches back and forth from being like charming and awesome to being like charming and evil. That like you can't really tell who he is. Which maybe that just speaks to his ability to like code switch like that in this character. But like you kind of think that like he is kind of a charming, nice guy who's maybe just become kind of fed up with things. I don't know.
So like we'll get to it at the end, but then when all of a sudden once the cat's out of the bag and he starts having like that German accent that's like German but also still like Hollywood British, that I'm wondering, it's like, okay, at what point did he come over to the US as a spy, or was he here and then got converted as a spy at some point? It's like, so who's the real Neville Sinclair here? like you said, of like, okay, so is it that you're switching from this guy to that guy? Like, which is the true one? Or is it just, have you lost yourself from being here and playing the part so long that there are parts of you that are the Hollywood Neville Sinclair?
It might be that he's kind of lost himself, right? He has that whole sequence with Jenny where he's just like feeding lines from his movies because he like doesn't know how to talk and interact with people anymore, it feels like.
Yeah, which I just love how she just has him like dead to rights on all of it, of like,
Yeah.
I know all of your movie quotes. You're just feeding me lines. But yeah, after the whole set falls out, I like how Sinclair says, let it never be said Neville Sinclair failed to bring down the house. Which I think is like, it's a nice reaction to everything of like, he doesn't immediately like fly off the handle and go into a rage and all this other stuff. Like,
No, he does it in private instead, where he's like, get her the fucking, get out of her.
well, I mean,
Like, I thought that was
honestly though,
messed up.
kind of fair. Like, if you are just an extra on set and you're bringing friends who are sneaking onto set and causing problems that are like
Destroying
costing
the
money
scene.
and time, it's like, yeah, you're gone. Get out of here.
No, he helped uncover a serious OSHA violation waiting to happen, and it did.
So,
Sorry, I should be commending you, good sir.
Don't defend the Nazi. He was wrong the whole time.
but we don't know he's a Nazi yet. Right now, he's just an exasperated man who had to do 28 takes of a woman saying,
No,
your eyes,
we've
I
got-
drink deeply.
We've got it recorded. Dean, Nazi sympathizer.
That's going to be the next Discord
He's a
sound.
nice man.
Although now you got to wonder, like, how far does it go? It's just like, oh man, he broke his leg. It's like, oh, that man's a Nazi. You're a Nazi sympathizer.
So we can't like Neville Sinclair at all throughout this film. Well,
Not a single
so
point.
I didn't know how his castmate Charlie, how he got stabbed, because after all this happens, then somebody's like, Charlie's been stabbed. But it doesn't seem like he's dying. It just seems like he got hurt. And I thought it was something happened when the set fell down, that he ended up getting like stabbed by one of the prop things or something.
Oh, I
No,
missed
Sinclair
that.
just stabbed him anyway. He just went up and stabbed him. He just got tired of doing this. After the 28th take, he didn't want to do this anymore, so he stabbed
We
him. out
can't
of
do 30
frustration.
takes if you're not here. Or if I'm not here, and then he stabs himself. You're really throwing a wrench into this whole Nazi spy plan, Neville. So Sinclair understandably tells the director, fire Jenny due to the chaos caused on set, and he ends up overhearing Cliff and Jenny's conversation where Cliff informs her about finding the rocket pack. So, hey, right place, right time, you know?
How convenient.
So-
no, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's a very small set. Plus, all of the walls were very poorly made, as Nick said. So, very easy to hear every conversation. So off to Bigelow's air show, and he announces that Cliff and Peavy are over if they don't get this air show kicked off on time, and Malcolm overhears, so he dresses up as a clown and takes a plane to do the clown act himself to save their jobs, and loses control of the plane, which they explain in this is like, he hasn't flown in years. In the comics, he's drunk. So I get why they changed it for the Walt Disney version for this, but also it's like, wait, so if you were like a pilot for years and then you're not a pilot for a while, although they said like he hasn't been a pilot for like 25 years. So he was a pilot in, what is this? If this is like 1938, so he was flying planes in 1913?
Well, yeah, he said he was shot down by the Red Baron, so he was flying in World War One.
Wow.
I always assumed he was drunk. I never took it as face value from... Even as a kid, I knew something wasn't right with his flying, and it wasn't like, oh no, it's broken. Something was wrong with him.
Well, that's the thing that they play it so oddly. They're like, oh my god, he hasn't been behind the stick in 25 years. Like, we gotta get the jetpack and go save him. Like, everything looked kind of fine. Like, it didn't seem like there was a big problem, but everyone's reacting.
The plane started the fuck up. The plane was breaking.
Yeah, and then he was panicking, and then I think
was
he
it?
passed out at the...
Yeah, the plane broke.
Oh, I thought that was like it was supposed to be like sending off trails.
No.
I see. But then
Nope.
but then
It
like
broke
the plane
down.
doesn't like break until
It just started to,
until
fail.
Cliff
Well,
destroys
I love
it.
how the control
until
stick
Cliff
just
like
like
flies in and destroys the plane. Like he's a
the
missile.
stupid the stupid control stick breaks apart like it was just stapled onto the freaking like manifold. Like what is this thing made out of? Like paper and cardboard?
Who's building these planes? There's a set director that came by earlier.
Yeah, right.
So he ends up taking off of the plane and then losing control. So again, the actual rocket pack sequences, some of them do show their age just because like in 1991, it would be tough to have a man actually flying on screen Iron Man style. I think they do it in a endearing way that is still fun. And then some sequences ends up looking good just because it's not just like rocket pack clear against a bright blue sky kind of situation. Like they do some good stuff later.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only sequence where like the age is obvious.
Yeah. So we end up having Cliff trying to rescue him, falling off the plane while trying to get the unconscious Malcolm out, and manages him to grab him and fly away as the plane hits another gas tanker and then explodes.
My petroleum.
Which this is a sequence from the comic itself. So the whole rescue sequence is pretty much kind of shot by shot, which is a fun thing of, hey, let's do some nods to the book to show like we love it. This is where all of it came from while still doing their own thing. But we get Cliff flying by an airliner. And then as everybody looks at him, he like salutes and then doesn't realize and ends up clicking off his own rocket pack and then falling and ends up getting found by Peavy after he goes on like a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride going through like people's laundries and cornfields and skipping through a lake and then kind of landing on the ground.
Where he lived.
So Cliff ends up grabbing onto the car because the Valentine's gangsters are after him once Peavy shows up. Peavy can't get the car started, so he decides, hold on and drive. I'm going to fly this thing. And just rocket powers a car out of there, which we end up having Bigelow meeting with the newspaperman and claims it's all part of the show and coins the term the Rocketeer, which is what ends up sticking in this case for him. Notably, Sinclair is pissed. He's not thrilled with how all of this played out. And Howard Hughes explains to the feds that the wreckage that they found turns out to just be a burnt vacuum cleaner.
I forget exactly how the line is, but it's like so sarcastic that they're like, "Oh, thanks to the feds, you saved the world from this vacuum cleaner getting out into the wild." Yeah, I was like, "Oh, it's so good."
Yeah, like I said, I love the Howard Hughes version in this movie. It's just like, yeah, this feels more like what you would hope the ideal of a billionaire or millionaire would be, of like, he just loves inventing things. He just wants to like advance humanity. And he thinks it's so cool. And it's like, he's just kind of funny. And also he's nice to people. So Howard Hughes, man, what a great fake guy in this film. So we end up having the feds going to the airfield later that night to interrogate Bigelow and find him dead. Once again, folded like laundry. And I like how they're like, looks like he was writing something. And it was 1635 Palm Terrace, which I assume it's like, oh, look, it looks like he was writing something. It's just, oh, God, stop folding me like 6 times.
Just took the time to write it out.
Words fail my lips. Oh, God, stop folding me.
He's the guy who's folding. He like hands him a pen and paper. He's like, write down what you feel.
Work out your feelings.
Mom, I became laundry just like I always wanted.
It's like he's like writing out his like death poem.
It's a haiku. Your syntax is wrong. So Cliff arrives just in time to hear Peavy fighting off Lothar, and they both get manhandled. But luckily, the feds show up in time to help, because Cliff is really handling getting slammed through the ceiling pretty well. He gets thrown through the ceiling like 3 times by his head, and then he's still just like having conversation with Lothar and still like cracking jokes instead of just being...
I mean, it's... that 1940s drywall.
I was just about to say, unless it's that set director again who worked on all these houses and is just like, wow, this is really poorly done drywall.
It was one of those
he can't keep getting away with this
post-war housing that was done really cheaply.
So Lothar fires 2 guns off at the cops, and they open fire with what I assume to be 1,000 police officers on the house with Tommy guns, because they just like all surround it like it's some sort of like House of 1,000 Corpses situation, and then just unload on PV's house to try to get Lothar and completely miss him.
And then Lothar has these moments where he's just kind of silly. Like he sees like the plans sitting on the table and he just grabs it, and he's just like, the way he runs, he's just like, they're gonna get me. Like, I don't know, it's like a Green Goblin kind of run.
Like a Skeletor see you later kind of thing.
Exactly. Maybe he's just not great moving over distances.
It's like he left the city where Dick Tracy happened, and then he decided to just move out to LA or wherever the hell they are currently now. Because he does look like he was taken directly from the Dick Tracy movie with the stylized way all the villains were.
That's a movie I have to watch. I haven't seen in like 25 years. Dick Tracy will be a rewatch at some point. So meanwhile, at the South Seas Club, Sinclair wines and dines Jenny and meets Clark Gable briefly. And then Jan from The Office sings a lounge song, which, do you guys remember The Office?
Oh, is it Jan from The Office?
It's Jan from The Office. That's Laura.
I thought that.
Oh, I thought it was the Gladiator actress.
Russell Crowe?
I didn't.
Yes, Russell Crowe.
Actress.
Yeah, it made sense. Like, it made sense seeing how much she was into like singing and doing all of that stuff in The Office.
Wow, they look similar.
They do. It was funny to
Russell
see her
Crowe
in this.
and,
It's the. What's her name?
Connie Nielsen.
That's the one.
But yeah, so Laura Harden has 2 songs in this film, and then W.C. Fields stops by to say hi and meets with Jenny and then makes a boob joke.
Did you know? I had to look it up to confirm, but there's one waiter that comes by. I don't think he has any lines. I was like, is that Ron Howard? It was Ron Howard. Or not Ron Howard, Clint Howard.
Yes.
Oh,
it was Clint Howard.
Yeah.
Like, he comes by and like sets something down on the table, and I'm like, that looks like Clint Howard.
He
and
whispered,
then that's all he did.
I think he whispered into Neville's ear that, hey.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Eddie Valentine.
I was like, why is Ron Howard just doing that? Or Clint Howard. Why is Clint Howard doing that? Anyway, it was random.
So I guess Clint Howard's there too. Sinclair ends up meeting with Valentine and gets filled in on the situation, and Valentine threatens Sinclair over the death of his men, which I appreciate that Valentine is kind of. Well, actually, he's still
the only one that could kill my own boys is me.
Yeah,
okay?
I was just about to say,
You
like,
stay in your own
he's
lane.
looking out for his guys. Well, no, he's not. They're still dying, but he's upset about it after it happens. I need to know what's going on. My boys are dying out there.
It does seem like a counterintuitive plan where he's like double crossing himself. But I was like, I hired these mobsters, but now I'm going to send my guy after them to kill him.
Yeah.
It's like, why did he kill him? He would have cooperated. You just needed to sneak someone in to talk to him.
Well, I wonder if it was just he didn't want anybody to know where it was or what it was.
Well, I mean, he's working
do you think he
for
was gonna
Neville.
He was going to double cross the mob at the end?
Yeah.
Probably. And just not pay them. And yeah, no, that makes sense.
And just be like off onto the Luxembourg. So at the diner or cafe attic, Malcolm and Millie fill the boys in that Bigelow was killed, and Cliff finally agrees to call the feds. But unfortunately, Valentine's men arrive at the diner and try to bribe the room before destroying the place in a classic trope of gangsters arriving and just slowly destroying any location.
I thought it was funny because I was confused at first when they came in. I might have looked away from the screen because at first I thought it was the feds, and I was like, wow, these feds are really taking some
Wow, they play
liberties.
hardball. Aren't you guys maybe a couple decades too early for this kind of stuff? So we end up they try to burn Peavy on the stove by holding his face down to it. And then one gangster ends up seeing a message to Jenny on the wall, 8675309, and decides to call that number because it matched the photo that they had, and ends up finding out that it's the boarding house number, and her friend reveals that she's at the South Seas Club with Neville Sinclair, and they think it might be some sort of kind of double cross. There might be something funky going on here. So 2 gangsters leave, and Cliff plans to jump them all just as he realizes the photo on the wall is of Cliff and Jenny. So the gangster goes to turn around, and the entire diner attacks. I like the coordinated attack sequence of just like Cliff glancing over and looking at William Sanderson, and William Sanderson like looking over at somebody else, and all of them are just like, yeah. And then as soon as these like attack,
It feels real too.
and then
It
they
took
all
them
run
all.
in different directions and leave Cliff, and they're like, "Oh, I thought that was the look you were giving us. It was scatter."
It's like,
The
that was
amount of
the wrong
times-
look.
We always see in movies
Scram.
where they don't understand what the signal was. This was a little refreshing that where everyone was on the same page.
There's a number of things in this film that were refreshing for me. Of like, oh my god, thank you for not like dragging this out or doing the trope in the worst possible way. But yeah, so the diner attacks, and then Cliff soups up to head to the club and save Jenny. PV fixes a hole in the tank because evidently it picked up a bullet on the way through, and puts some Beeman's gum in it. And then, unfortunately, as Cliff takes off, a shadowy figure with a gun arrives and takes PV. And we don't know who or what this is exactly just yet.
The Shadow Man.
The Shadow Man.
The shadow.
It's the Shadow. It's the Shadow.
What evil lies in the hearts of men the shadow knows. So back in the club, Sinclair continues to woo Jenny and dances with her on a silent dance floor before the band decides to be a band again. And then Cliff arrives in time and hides the pack in the laundry, steals a waiter outfit, and then waits on their table while Jenny badmouths him to get back at him. So he ends up eventually spilling something on her to get her to step away because she was about to reveal to Sinclair that, oh yeah, like my friend Cliff ends up finding this rocket pack and all this other stuff. So like we said before, of like, I like how they don't follow the trope of, oh, people don't know the signal or something like that. I like how he gets Jenny aside, and then immediately it's just no beating around the bush. Hey, Jenny, here's the situation. And it just lays all of it out.
I've got to tell
I
you
love
something.
how it's like,
listen to me.
I'm the Rocketeer. Who? Like that. I felt that.
Where I
I'm
like
so
how he was
sorry
like,
for you.
you're the person rescued at the airfield, and she's like, I've been working. It's like, oh yeah,
It's-
this
I mean,
was
it
all
is
like
like-
the same
it is just-
24 hours, right?
It is just yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
No social
I
media.
mean, Cliff is a little self-absorbed. Like, I guess to backtrack a little, he could not care less about Jenny's acting career. Like,
He makes a lot of remarks about like, oh yeah, you're the girl who stood behind so and so with grapes.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just like, well, like
Impressive.
because they were at the airfield. It's like, well, I had a big audition today, and he's like, well, you should like, yeah, dude, she's got to work. Like,
yeah,
I honestly feel though that there's not enough give and take in that relationship, and they're not going to last.
no, not in the slightest.
oh,
Because
not
even
shipping
though
them.
like he belittles her employment, at the same time it doesn't seem like she makes an effort to try to go to any of the shows either, because it almost reminded me of like when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jake Lloyd were arguing back and forth on how, Dad, you're never there for me in Jingle All the Way, and he's like, well, yes I am. He's like, I made it to blue, but the kid's like, no, well, you missed yellow, you missed tonight for all the award ceremonies for my belt. And it felt kind of like that, where they're both calling out stuff that each other's missed, and it's just, I don't think it's we all want Jenny at the end of the day, but I don't think Cliff's gonna keep her.
No,
No.
I mean, I think that the sentiment that Cliff had at the diner, where he was like, she's with her Hollywood friends, like, yeah, and you're at the airfield every night, like you two are you're too into your own things.
yeah. I think it's they care about each other, but Cliff like makes himself feel inferior and just doesn't accept that it's like, no, like she hangs out with you because she wants to hang out with you. You're putting yourself into this box. You just need to go talk to her.
Yeah, he's sabotaging it. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, just like Jingle All the Way, like you said, where Jake Lloyd's like, you're never there for me, and Arnold's like, you're never there for me, Jamie. I had a lot of division meetings, all these sales meetings, you never showed up to one.
You're not my number one customer.
Don't say it, Dad. You're not my number one customer. And he just starts to like blend away into sand.
I
I'm
like
sorry,
the way you guys
Jamie.
are quoting this like as if Arnold Schwarzenegger's job was a big plot point in the movie. Like, I don't think it's even revealed what he does.
Arnold, he sells mattresses, I think, or something. You
You
see
mattresses?
I think I don't
You
remember.
see him in the
like-
office, but yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
well, the office, like you could see, like just he doesn't say it, but if you read like what he's writing down or like the signage behind him, oh, this is a
We've
digression
developed
that I
something
need to
called
look into
memory
later.
foam, Jake. I can't come to you.
I have to QA test all of them, Jake. It just smash cuts to a montage of him jumping up and down on a warehouse full of mattresses.
Yeah.
You think we can pay guys to do this, Jake? You think it's a misuse of time and money for a CEO to do this himself, Jake?
Yes, I was born in America. Stop asking me that.
I grew up in a small town in Ohio, Jake.
I was like, yeah, him and Jean-Claude's character in
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport. Two hometown American boys.
With a New York Mets hat and a thick Belgium accent. Anyway. So Jenny tries to escape and take a taxi. Cliff runs into Lothar and chaos ensues at the South Seas Club. But luckily, Cliff gets his gear and gets netted while Jenny beats Lothar with a statue, which she'll do a couple times in this film of knocking people out with vases, statues, anything that's breakaway. And Cliff absolutely
can hold her
ruins
own.
a gorgeous stained glass window to a great score.
It's true, he does. It's pretty egregious.
Yeah. I also I get, okay, maybe he's wearing the leather jacket and the gloves and the helmet so he doesn't get torn up, but it's like everyone down on the dance floor should be shredded.
Oh, yeah.
I love how too they look up while he's going through and just trying to blast him, but it's in reality they'd be rained down with shards of glass.
I was
Son of a bitch.
I was away this weekend and we ended up doing this glass activity where it was like you cut all of the glass and you're putting it for I made a 10-inch bowl, and then they take all of the glass that you laid out and they put it they blast furnace it or whatever it is to melt it down so this way it becomes that solid piece of whatever the art is. Just these little tiny pieces of glass, and I shredded my hands all over. Now imagine an entire ceiling that's just glass, that's much thicker and much heavier and falling at velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff bursts
made out
through
of
that
sugar
ceiling and 48 people are dead instantly at the South Seas Club.
Also, who just has a net? Can I just...
I would love to see the one scene behind this of everybody's getting ready and they're grabbing a Tommy gun, pistol, net, and then one guy's like, if I end up having to use this, you're gonna feel pretty dumb.
I feel like if this was a show, there would be a whole episode where they're talking about Clint and his net. They're just dude, you bring the net everywhere. We've never needed a net. This has never helped anybody. And then this happens and Clint's just best day ever.
It's like the Boondock Saints thing of here's your stupid rope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jenny ends up getting captured by Sinclair, and Sinclair pulls a "does this smell like chloroform" to you and knocks her out, which we later find is actually chloroform.
Chloroform does not take that long. Fun fact.
Wait, I thought it did take long.
It takes a long time. It's not that quick. Rather, it's not that quick.
I was gonna say I
4
did
to 8
appreciate
hours.
because they cut away before she actually passes out. When they cut, her eyes are still open. She's struggling. So it's
He's there for 10
All right.
minutes. It's like in movies when they try and suffocate someone with a pillow, and it's man, that would take an hour.
Yeah,
Of course she passed out. She was tired because he's been holding it against her mouth for the last 45 minutes.
it's actually a time lapse sequence.
She's fine, I'll go to bed.
What you don't see is just out of frame, Lothar hits her with a wrench.
It's still holding it to her mouth as she starts to lay down in the bed. She gets all cooked.
Haha.
It's still
It
holding
worked. It worked.
Lothar lifts him and her and carries them back to the car. He's still holding her. They drive all
Puts
the
on a
way
movie
there.
for her.
Yeah. He
Takes at least
he stops,
per
checks
Google,
it
it takes
himself
5
real
minutes.
quick just to make sure that it is there, then goes back to putting it on her. No, yeah, that is chloroform. So yeah, so
So it'd
Jenny,
be more believable if they gag somebody with a cloth bandana and then soak that in chloroform. That's probably
Yes.
should do the trick.
or
yes.
if they just waterboard them with chloroform.
Tim, I think
My
that's just
industrial
called drowning
size bucket of chloroform. You know how much
You know
money
what
I
really
spent on
works?
chloroform waterboarding people?
You know what really knocks you out? Drowning.
You know that they would have to bring her to an entirely separate warehouse planned for this scenario to then bring her to a third location.
It's the what is it, the college humor Batman with Pete Holmes, where he's just like murdering people. He's like, I just thought I was putting them to sleep. He's like, no, they're dead.
He's all tuckered out.
So yeah, so
What do
Jenny,
you think you just did?
so Jenny wakes up trapped in a room and watches Sinclair putting a book back on a secret switch on his bookshelf before he comes in and tries to whine and schmooze her. So she's already awake. She pretends to be asleep, and then he uses smelling salts to wake her up.
That would have sucked.
Oh, yeah, like
would've real
smelling salts aren't just like you slowly get roused of like, oh, I didn't. It's like I've watched them use it on hockey players, and all of a sudden it's like their soul leaves their body and they're ready to fight like another day. And then he holds it under her nose, and she's just like perfectly normal, waiting. And then it's just like, oh, I'm awake now. And it's like, you have to be the best actress in Hollywood if this is smelling salts and you're still pretending to be asleep for another like 7 seconds.
Maybe Neville doesn't know what smelling salts are, and there's just like some Himalayan rock salt he had, and he's just like, yeah, salt that you smell, you know.
Wait, maybe that's a situation with the chloroform too, that he doesn't know what any of these things are, so it's just like, I think it's chloroform, I think these are smelling salts.
She
Well, for
comes
the
to,
next
she's
10
like,
minutes.
bacon.
For the next 10 minutes, she's putting on the best performance of her life, and she suckers him in hook, line, and sinker.
Oh yeah.
Just chlorophyll on the napkin.
But yeah, like, so Sinclair at this point is still trying to play it off as he's being blackmailed and he isn't the villain. But like you were mentioning before, he starts giving all of these like great little speeches to her, and she's clocking all of them immediately as like, no, this is from this movie. That's a line you had. No, yeah, this is another movie with a line you had. Which I like how it's not like, oh, but she's getting suckered in. It's just like, no, she's had her plan the entire time. And I like that we don't get damsel in distress Jenny. Like, granted, she's still a damsel in the sense of like she needs to be rescued, but not because of a deficiency in her. It's like, no, you're kind of in a Nazi stronghold by like a giant and another guy and all this other stuff. Like, that's not a damsel situation. Like, you just need help. If Cliff was there by himself, he would also need to be rescued.
Yeah, I mean, she is doing a good job of acting her way out of it.
Oh yeah, like Nick said, like she has him tricked entirely as far as this whole thing of like playing along and like, oh, I'll put on that dress, and oh, Sinclair, like come into the other room and help me. And then she ends up just clocking him with a vase and knocking him out, and gets to say, I finally played a scene with Neville Sinclair.
Yeah. But this is the second time she's knocked him out, right?
Well, she knocked out Lothar once.
Oh, Lothar, that's
with
right,
the statue, and then she knocked him out with the vase, which I feel like that's an action movie trope of just like anybody that gets hit in the head and it's just like they're knocked out. They're just down.
I always wonder about like in movies, like people getting knocked out. Getting knocked out is not a good thing. Like you pass out because you have a traumatic brain injury. Like
I think
it's not fine.
It's not outright killing you, but it's in the
bad.
long term, it's worse.
Yeah,
I think I brought this up on movie tropes.
Yeah, we
and
talked
depending
about it on the
how
movie
badly
tropes
you
episode.
get knocked out, like you could have bleeding in your brain and you will never be the same.
Well, I know
Yeah.
we talked about on that episode of like, yeah, when you get knocked out, I forgot how long a time
Movie
frame
tropes.
it is, but it's like within a couple like seconds or like a minute or whatever it is. After that point, you're lacking oxygen to your brain, and like it's starting to do like irreparable brain damage. And it's like
Yeah.
all of these sequences where it's just like you get hit with a wrench and you're just knocked out for like a 35-minute car ride. It's like, no, you're you're not waking up.
There's
You're no
serious
longer the
damage.
threat you were when you got knocked out. Like JTT
It's like,
and I'll
I'm
Be Home
the-
for Christmas should not be the same JTT that we saw at the
Yeah.
beginning of that film.
It's like, I'm the good guy. I'm just going to knock him out. It's like, oh, cool. So now he can't walk. That's a good guy thing, I guess.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is going to deeply affect his family and him for the rest of his life. But We don't care because Neville Sinclair is a Nazi, as we find out.
Right, we have to remember that.
Back,
He is in fact
back
a
to the
Nazi.
motto
It's
of the
fine.
episode.
Anything you want to do to him is fine.
Lothar, we don't quite know if he's being blackmailed, if he's actually great with their ideology. So he's still up in the air. She ends up finding the bookcase and finds the Conquests of Casanova book, which is the switch that opens the secret Sinclair room, and discovers all of his papers and tech. And she picks up the radio to call somebody, and it's just immediately is just somebody speaking German on the other line, asking for Sinclair and thinking it's Sinclair. And then she goes a step further to find the Nazi handbook, and Neville Sinclair is a
How
Nazi.
to be a Nazi.
No, it was a
Step by
passport.
step.
Oh, it was a pass. I thought it was the handbook.
Yeah.
Like it was just like some documentation they pass out.
Nazis for dummies.
Out of curiosity, yeah, for you to be a Nazi, you must carry this with you at all times, and it's just a swastika. Out of curiosity, because I always watch stuff with subtitles on, was the German translated in subtitles, or was it not?
That's a good question, actually.
At least the subtitles that I had on, I was watching it on Disney Plus, and it just says German speaking.
Okay, because I wasn't sure, because the version I watched, I've had for years, and I just watched that one, but I noticed like halfway through the subtitles weren't working right, but I didn't think anything of it. And anytime they spoke German, I had to use context clues to figure out what the hell they were saying, because they didn't even say like quote unquote German, or like, you know, in parentheses, or even it translated on what they were saying. So I wasn't sure if it actually was
I don't
translated
remember what it said for it, but I don't remember knowing what they said in German.
I was tempted to go back in the scene, hold up Google Translate to like my screen and just listen to what it was exactly. If it was going to be like, Sinclair, you lost that bet. You owe me $20. I'm going to be coming. Like something along the lines of just like nothing to do with the scene. They just assume that you don't speak German.
Yeah, because
It's
actually
just
my
absolute gibberish in a German accent.
my subtitles were actually in German. They actually subtitled what they were speaking in German instead of just saying German, speaking German.
It's like the Grammys with Bad Bunny, where they were just like singing in Spanish.
Singing in Spanish.
So Neville Sinclair is a Nazi, and he arrives with a wound on his head just in time with Lothar to recapture Jenny. But we go back to the Bulldog Cafe, and the diner is empty, but Patsy's still there for some reason. And Valentine calls and threatens Jenny unless Cliff brings him the rocket. So it's going to be the showdown at Griffith Observatory, which, Dean, you and I have been there before together. And then Cliff explains to Patsy that he's the Rocketeer before the feds arrive and capture him. Dean just shrugs like it wasn't a defining memory for me in my life of going to an iconic location with my friends.
Which
It's a
location?
Tuesday for him.
Griffith Observatory.
Oh yeah, that's. Honestly, when that came up, I thought about your visit to Los Angeles.
Rocketeer, La La Land. I think it was Rebel Without a Cause. So many
Terminator
things
2.
there.
Terminator 1, rather.
Yes, Terminator 1.
Yeah.
Oh, Griffith Observatory, the movie.
They had a movie?
Yeah, it was a big feature in the movie.
Hey, way to really stick that landing, Dean. I think you really pulled that one over on him.
I mean, it worked on David. I think he was really questioning it.
So yeah, it's not on Letterboxd, David. So you're gonna have to probably find an alternative way.
I thought maybe Dean was referring to like a little like featurette they play when you go visit it.
Actually, that
It's
would
like,
be
welcome
cool.
to
Like
the observatory.
here's all the films at Griffith Observatory. It's kind of like when we went to, what was it? I want to say like Gray Manor or something, or like.
Yeah, the mansion.
Yeah, and then they end up having like the sign, and then they have like all the kind of like museum-esque stuff downstairs of like, here's all of the films and shows and all of the work that's been filmed here and done here. And it's really cool just to see, especially when you have an area like that in like California, where granted so many things are filmed. Like the Blade Runner stairs when we went there, or the Karate Kid Beach, or any of those things. Cliff is brought to Howard Hughes because the feds bring him there, and we end up finding out that that's where Peavy got caught. Peavy's been there with Howard and just kind of talking shop, so Howard has him uncuffed and explains the Cirrus X3 rocket pack.
I love how it's like, this is your problem right here. You should have done this. I feel there's going to be a collaboration in the future between the two of them on a future project.
I have only seen the comics, and I've only read one or two over the years, but there's been a bunch of them. That last night I decided to get the collected works for the very beginning of them, and I'm starting to read through all of it, just because I want to see, like, what's Peavy up to? Like, what happens throughout the series with, like, Peavy of... He seems pretty good with all of the mechanical stuff. Does he continue working on all of these things, or is it just like, well, that was a cool rocket pack. Anyway.
Yeah, right. I mean, he built their racing plane from the ground up, and then was able to not only modify it, like he figured out how the rocket pack worked and modified it to make it work better.
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't sure if he would have been a case of like in Blade, where Whistler was such an amazing character, they adopted him into the comic, or like Mr. Freeze's entire identity. It was done so well in Batman the Animated Series that they moved that to the comic as well. And I wasn't sure if Peavy would have been, you know, aspects of him was adopted into the movie, but the movie did him so well, that's what they turned him into in the comic after that. I don't know.
Yeah, so I knew, at least as far as the comics I've read, Peavy is Peavy, like the same in the comics. I don't know to what extent as far as like him upgrading and redesigning and like all this other stuff on the tech, like if he becomes like his Lucius Fox or whatever the case is. So yeah, so he ends up explaining that, or Peavy tries to get Cliff to give up.
Wait. So you said you wanted to know what was he up to. Did you just not read into it yet, or you just don't know?
No, I haven't read into it yet.
Oh, okay. Let us know.
I'll keep you up to date on my
Nick
reading of Rocketeer.
Spoil live.
So Peavy tries
I
to...
didn't know either. He made the whole story, and I wanted to like, did you find out yet? Oh, okay.
I got the collected works of the volume 1, and I have read 2 issues so far. I've gotten as far as he's gotten the rocket pack, and he's saved Malcolm from his drunk clown plane. So we end up having Peavy trying to convince Cliff to give up the pack, and then that's when Howard shows the film of the German tests. But I guess Dave Stevens was like a cameo or something as the guy who blows up. Here's all the German test sequences of them trying to do the pack. And then that's when we get the animated propaganda cartoon of the German Rocketeers taking over the world via rocket pack. I don't know if that would be 100% accurate, but the cartoon says so.
Decent production value on the cartoon from the Nazis. So.
Wow, these Nazi cartoons look like they're made by Walt Disney. Oh, huh.
It's before all of the animators fled to the United States. And that's where Disney just hired all of them.
So Howard explains that Valentine is just working for a German contact who is a spy, and that's when Cliff realizes that it's Sinclair that's the contact, and Sinclair is the one that's behind all of this. So he escapes by grabbing onto a prototype plane in the hangar and gliding out and running off into the distance, and we get the Howard Hughes line, "The son of a bitch will fly," that I always liked, but then also but is that like, do I need to know a lot about Howard Hughes to just automatically know about that prototype? Because
it's the largest.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's
I felt like
there's
that's
a
what the
plane.
reference was.
Yeah, there's a plane.
What
The
was it
Spruce
called?
Goose.
Spruce Goose,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah, it was super massive. It shouldn't have technically flown, like a bumblebee kind of thing. It just statistically it shouldn't have flown, but it did.
But like that's a case of we didn't have a scene earlier in the movie that I recall of like Howard Hughes getting into it with
No.
somebody discussing like, oh,
It's
the
just a
Spruce Goose,
cheeky
and like we
thing.
need to figure out. So it's like this is something that if you happen to know that, it's just a fun little addition. But otherwise, it's not like, oh, this'll come back later. Which again, like I appreciate that they didn't lean into all those kind of very like tropey exposition things.
I mean,
That's
maybe
where the
it
movie
should've,
lost
like,
me.
All of a sudden, you see the Spruce Goose like armed to the teeth coming in and like shoots down the Nazi blimp.
Or maybe he wasn't talking about the Spruce Goose. Maybe he was like, the son of a bitch will fly. And he's talking about Cliff Secord. And he's just like looking at a distance and kind of sizing him up of like, I'll turn him into a plane.
I mean, maybe that would be the sequel that Disney probably had hoped for. Where they were just like, then he makes like a special rocket pack just for him.
That would actually be pretty cool when he teams up with PD and they work on it.
He teams up with Howard Stark.
I mean, I'm sure that they wanted more films after this one.
Well, when it was with Touchstone, I guess they were talking about doing it as like 3 films or something. And then once it moved over to Walt Disney, they were like, 1 film. That I don't know if it's just this didn't perform as well as they were hoping, or if they just decided like, this was a lot more trouble than it was worth. We don't know if we have another like film in the can or like more gas in the tank on this thing. So let's move on. Which is unfortunate. I figured this is something that we can definitely have gotten a couple fun adventures out of. So Cliff arrives at the Griffith Observatory to meet Sinclair, Lothar, and Valentine's gang. And Cliff has a standoff with Sinclair to get him to let Jenny go. And he decides to make the call of asking, what's it like working for a Nazi, Eddie? And Cliff explains to Valentine that Sinclair is the Nazi and the mobsters turn on the Nazis with, like we said, I love this sequence because that's when Valentine says, it matters to me. I may not make an honest buck, but I'm 100% American and I don't work for no 2-bit Nazi. I love this, like, in terms of, like, the kind of tropiness of, like, it's that classic, like, we may be gangsters or we may be villains, but we're American villains, damn it.
I think one of my favorite shots and moments in the movie is when Valentine is shooting at the Nazis, and then the FBI guy is next to him shooting. They look at each other. Valentine smiles, and they continue shooting at the Nazis.
I love that. They should have just had them both give like a low 5, and they're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't
the enemy
like
of my
shooting
enemy?
at Nazis?
I think at one point DC and Marvel had a crossover, and if I recall, there's a sequence of like Joker working with Red Skull and then realizing Red Skull is a Nazi. And then it's like, I may be a villain, but I'm an American villain. And then he turns on Red Skull.
That sounds familiar.
Not to count the fact that, like, Joker in the comics has done horrible things himself, but, like, he's done horrible American things. And those are different.
I may be a horrible person, but I'm a horrible American person.
So the Luxembourg Zeppelin arrives out of nowhere, and Sinclair escapes with his Nazi crew as the feds show up and team up with the mobsters. And the feds announce not to shoot the hydrogen Zeppelin, which you would think before anything happens, you could just shoot the Zeppelin. It's a Nazi Zeppelin. You already know they're escaping in it. Before they get there, you can just shoot it. Just blow it up. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially...
I think they were concerned about the debris raining over Los Angeles, and that's why they didn't do it.
At first I was like, well, maybe they don't know it's like evil Nazis. It's
the
like
Hindenburg.
Sure, they don't know yet.
Nazis because we're not at war with them, but then there's Nazi soldiers everywhere. So like, yeah, you can probably shoot it.
They just kind of popped up.
Yeah,
when all of a sudden
they
the
just came out of
mobsters
the woods,
turned,
literally.
and all of a sudden Sinclair was just like, boys, and it's just all of these guys climb out of the woods, and it's like, wait a second. So you've had your own... Why have you been working with the gangsters if you had a platoon of Nazis just hiding out in Los Angeles?
I mean, you can't just have
Harder
Nazis
to be
running around,
conspicuous.
And it's a hindsight
Also
thing,
German
'cause we know now Nazis are terrible, but in 1938, were they terrible yet? I don't think they came out of their...
Well, no, 38.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I think 38 we knew they were, but we didn't care.
Yeah.
Because it didn't affect
Yeah,
us.
it's like that's all happening over there.
Yeah, that was still Europe being Europe, I think.
Well, they didn't know about like the ethnic cleansing. I don't think at that point.
It's hard to say.
But I don't know because don't listen to this and think that I know what I'm talking about. I just don't.
I am not a history buff.
No.
I did not do any research on World War I and World War II, Eastern
When
European
things really got
politics.
I would say none of us have made the middle-aged shift to learning about World War II.
Caring about history.
That's my favorite war.
Oh, that I did that during my 20s when Saving Private Ryan was kind of a big thing. We didn't join until 1941 after Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Pearl Harbor is what caused us another 3 years, almost 4.
And they said they haven't invaded Poland, so it didn't even really start yet. I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Still the interlude. So Jenny is taken by Sinclair and Lothar onto the ship as the Nazi team is just getting smoked downstairs. And we get a fun sequence, like you said, of the cops and mobsters realizing that they're both on the same side in this. And it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation, which I love. I love the idea of like, mobsters, but they're like, in this case, they're the good guys. And then Cliff grabs a gun and we get that iconic, like the Rocketeer looking cover of him just standing there in silhouette of like the helmet holding the gun. And then you have the American flag flying in the background. That it's probably my favorite shot of the movie.
That is the gun that gets modeled into Han Solo's blaster.
Really?
Yes.
Fucking lazy prop people.
I'm saying maybe we take a break from Rule of Thirds and maybe we just do like prop history where everybody comes up with one prop and we'll just look up as much as we can on that prop every episode.
Oh, I actually knew that when I saw it. Like, hey, cool. That's specific.
See, you're already ready for an episode now. So on the Zeppelin showdown, Cliff boards the Zeppelin, faces off with Lothar on the top. And I like how Lothar just like shrugs off a groin kick before Cliff rockets into him and knocks him around the ship.
Yeah,
I was going to say that he went
that
down
leaves me with
way
some
quicker.
questions.
He went down way quicker than I expected.
Yeah, so I like how then it cuts to inside. They're talking about like, okay, get us out of here. Don't worry. We have the best German pilot and whatever. And then Lothar like blows through the window from getting rocketed on top and then just knocks the pilot clean out the other side of the Zeppelin and he dies. So Sinclair ends up shooting another officer and throws him off the plane just out of annoyance and to reduce the weight before Cliff arrives. And this is when we have Sinclair in his German accent taking Jenny hostage. But Cliff removes the gum from the rocket pack that he put the Beemans there, or Peavy put the Beemans there earlier to block the hole that was draining fuel, and finally gives it over to Sinclair. And then Jenny kills the captain that's holding her because Sinclair passes her off to a captain. And then Jenny ends up knocking him clean, like off of the Zeppelin.
She killed a man.
You should lay low, Jenny. Jenny has a body count. So Jenny fires a flare and sets the Zeppelin ablaze as Sinclair decides to don the pack and escape, only to blow himself up and then land on the Hollywood land sign, turning it into Hollywood.
That's
I
how
like that
that
origin
happened.
story.
This is something that I feel like is if it's a movie that takes place in historical Hollywood, it has to happen. And I wonder where where did this first get used in movies of like Hollywoodland, just Hollywood?
I don't know. Is it a rhetorical question? Because I don't know.
I was genuinely asking.
How do you not know, Dean? That's 100% your...
That's right. They tell you as soon as you get off the plane here.
That's what they call you, Mr. Hollywood.
Doesn't everyone's house face the Hollywood sign?
Yeah.
You can see it out of every window.
Wait, I've been at Griffith Observatory. I don't remember the Hollywood sign being that close to it, though, unless this Zeppelin was.
It's not close. It's not close.
Does that mean this is?
Oh, but he has a rocket though, so it's definitely within rocket distance.
So that means he escaped, fired the rocket, and then just beelined straight for the Hollywood land sign.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the
It's probably an air mile, probably within a mile. So
it's like the gas car situation twice in the movie earlier, that it's like so many other places you could have landed, you end up flying directly into the Hollywood land sign. So Cliff and Jenny kiss one last time as Lothar arrives to fight yet again. And then Peavy and Howard arrive in their plane to save them just as it explodes. And Lothar gets vaporized. And it was at this point that I finally realized as he was shouting that, wow, this looks and sounds just like Mr. Boogedy. So at some point we'll cover that and you guys are going to be like, wow, this sounds like Lothar. Coming to the end, we have Peavy, Jenny, and Cliff hanging out at the cafe, and Peavy makes a crack about shame about the car, reading about the death of Neville Sinclair blowing up, and we have Howard Hughes arriving to thank Cliff, And he asks him how it was like flying the pack, and he said it was the closest I'll ever get to heaven, Mr. Hughes. And then implies like, oh, or maybe not, because I have Jenny, and we'll see how long that lasts until I decide like I need to get into nationals, and we maybe drift apart and something happens. I don't know.
I mean, now that they have a shared trauma now, so
Hey, it's the speed dilemma. Does shared trauma make a relationship? So yeah, like he ends up giving Cliff some Beeman's gum and like, oh, he can't go without this. And then he gets in the car and leaves. And then that's when he ends up realizing like, oh, the plane that he flew in on is now mine, which is like the updated, cool, custom GB. And then Jenny shows that she stole the blueprints to the rocket pack and gives them to Peavy, who comes up with all these ideas instantly. And then just Cliff sets himself up for a kiss with Jenny. And we kind of end the movie on that.
I thought it would have been hilarious if a guy went up to Cliff like, no, this is Mr. Hughes. He just wanted to fly here to say whatever, and
they hook it back up to a trailer and drive it away.
Yeah.
No, you just
like
got
he's
the
a billionaire.
gum.
I mean, he just wants to fly wherever he wants, and he has a whole caravan of people following him on the ground at all times.
Which is somehow worse than a private jet, because now it's clogging up all of the roadways with all of their teams. That is the Rocketeer.
They should have ended it like The Matrix. It should have ended like The Matrix.
Oh, him
with
just
a wide
like...
shot and Rage Against the Machine is playing.
Oh, I thought you meant he was going to get in a fight in a hallway and deflect bullets.
Although I would have loved.
What are you telling me, Peavy? I can dodge bullets with this rocket pack?
Soon you won't have to.
I just would have loved if during his Sinclair fight he just did the hand out in a fist and then he just like extends his fingers and pokes him in the neck.
Yeah. The spam move. Ah. You ever seen that edit? This is unrelated.
Where it's just that
it's like when your friend just spams the same move. Over. Ah.
Okay. So that's The Rocketeer. Dean, as a first-time viewer, how did you like this?
I liked it fine. I think it's a fine movie. I can see why it's enjoyable, and I think it holds up relatively. I mean, the effects. It's not like I can't believe this because the effects are bad. No, they're of the times and they're fine, charming.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the movie itself, yeah, it's an enjoyable little movie. On one hand, I wanted to say I'm surprised that Billy Campbell didn't really seem to take off after this, because he was good, but I guess they didn't write him to be such a super. Like, I think he's charming, but I don't know if the script gave him like, like room to flex like an Indiana Jones or something. You know what I mean? Like, I think he could have proved himself more with maybe different characterization. Not that it was bad, but like I was trying to just reconcile why didn't he like take off after this? Because I feel like he could have become a bigger leading man. But
because I'm wondering what he did. Because I know I've seen him over the years pop up in a couple things, but like, what did he do directly after this? He popped up in Coppola's Dracula, and like he's been in a bunch of things since then. Yeah, he played.
As who?
Quincy P. Morris is not a name that rings the bell.
Oh, that was the gunslinger who goes to the castle with the first hunt and dies pretty quickly on the road.
Rough.
I never saw that Dracula.
It is.
Watch it for
Dracula in that one.
It's like 97% great.
Who's Dracula in that movie?
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Wait. Oh, Coppola made that movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That movie
I'm used to being called Bram Stoker's Dracula, not
is so
Coppola's
incredible,
Dracula.
Except for Keanu Reeves.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even he said he was miscast in that.
Yeah. I mean, I love Gary Oldman and everything. And this, I think he's great. But like, Keanu tries and stops trying a British accent and multiple times throughout the film. Like, yeah, it's a weird one.
I prefer the much superior Dracula 2000 with Gerard Butler as Dracula and Johnny Lee Miller and I think Omar Epps.
Superior. Please. It would bring me the Leslie Nielsen Dead and Loving It.
That we should just cover at some point. I love Master, you're looking better already. Renfield, I'm drinking wine and eating chitin.
No, I'm cured. No, you're not. Look.
I was having a daymare. Okay, we need to end this episode because we can just sit here and run through the entirety of...
It's true. So good.
She's almost dead. She's dead enough.
Blood.
Take the cross. What? Take it.
Damn it, take the cross.
David and Nick, any last thoughts on Rocketeer before we round this thing out?
I mean, I like this movie a lot. It's fun. It's a little hokey. On my rewatch, I think Billy Campbell in this is a snooze fest. Like, I feel like the script didn't give him a lot, and he's just not that interesting. I think everyone else around him is great and is like super well characterized and has like their own great little arcs. But I just felt like Billy Campbell, or just how they wrote Cliff, was just a little too milquetoast at times.
It's like they left all of the action for him as a character all as the Rocketeer and not when he's just Cliff.
It's like, I know, like, I 100% agree that like they needed like a gee golly gosh kind of hero.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like he just didn't, he didn't have any, like, he had no pizzazz. There was no quirk to
what
him.
You're saying
that, like,
is
really,
if Dean had a time machine and we can pull Brendan Fraser out of The Mummy and then just drop him in the same outfit directly into this.
I mean, there was nothing iconic about him or his portrayal. So he became kind of forgetful for me. And I became much more interested when, Peavy or Jenny or, Neville Sinclair or, Paul Sorvino, when any of them were on screen, I was like, this is great. I just loved everyone around him, but I thought he was kind of plain. I mean, maybe they were going for that with like the faceless main character, but I don't know. I felt like
Timothy Dalton chews it up pretty well.
Yeah, Timothy Dalton. I mean, maybe he should have been Cliff. No. That'd have been a weird version of that movie.
Hearing you say that did take the rose-tinted glasses off my face because I didn't hold it in that same light. I've grown up with this movie and I've always liked it. But you're actually spot on with that judgment on how it's no fault of... It really is no fault of Billy, because I do feel that he did the best that he could with what he was given. And I think that was a thing because of just the way that it was adapted from the comic, and they probably didn't know how to write him compared to his comic counterpart, because I'm sure Disney wanted to make sure that it was very kid friendly, and for all we know, studio involvement is the biggest killer of most movies when it comes to stuff like that. Aside from that, I mean, the rest of the cast is phenomenal. The set design, the costumes, I mean, his outfit alone is, say what you will about the actor, but just seeing him in that, that shot with him standing in front of the American flag, like that's pretty iconic in itself. And it was so well done. And that outfit is amazing. That deserves to be cosplayed way more. And it's so simple. All it is just a leather jacket, boots, and a helmet and that jetpack. It's so easy compared to, the 50 armor plating of a stormtrooper or like Master Chief or any of the heavier stuff like this. I'd rather wear that at a convention.
Oh yeah,
please.
It's funny, like thinking about Billy Campbell again for a second. I almost feel like Chris Evans in the first Avenger is kind of just like a natural progression of this character. Like they are so similar, and like their naivete that I almost feel like you could take I guess maybe throw Chris Evans in this role the way that Captain America was written, and the Rocketeer character would be more interesting. I think he just needed like a little bit more development to him.
Which I think in that case it would fit more with the kind of Disney version of what they were going for. Like in the comics, like Cliff is still a likable guy, but he also like in the beginning of the thing he plays a lot of pranks on people. Like he does. He's a little bit more of a. Like, so I guess, what's her name? Millie, the owner of the diner, like yells at him for feeding something to the dog because the dog that hangs out at the diner, because she's like, oh, like it's going to cause problems here. Like, don't do that. And he's going to be cooped up in that place with me. So she makes him walk away with it. And then he ends up running into Patsy or something. And it's like, hey, like, do me a favor. You should bring this dog back to Millie and bring it inside. Also, feed the dog all of this. Okay, have a good day. And he leaves, and it's like, yeah, because you know that dog's going to end up being gross around that woman now. Like, that's the stuff that they end up deciding, no, we need to make him like a little bit more kind of like clean cut, and he's the more of the aw shucks thing. But in that case, it takes a little bit of the edge off and rounds him down, that he ends up becoming a supporting character in his own movie, which, except when he's wearing the Rocketeer outfit. I still love the film. I think everybody should check it out at some point, even if you're just looking for that kind of classic nostalgia kick of things like other Joe Johnson, like October Sky and things like that. I will always enjoy this movie. I'll finish reading the comic, and I'll let you guys know any other differences I find.
Cool.
I do feel that this movie walked so Captain America could run.
Oh, yeah. So we can't thank you enough for coming along for the revisit of The Rocketeer. If you liked what you've heard, please drop a review and rating and subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts to help us out. Likes and subscribing really does help the channel out for us little guys. We have social media. We don't really update it. We don't really do ads, things like that. So check it out. Ends up leaving us a follow, and we can find us on Instagram at Screen Refresh. And go over and subscribe on YouTube at the Screen Refresh Network. Shoot us an email at screenrefresh@gmail.com, or come join our Discord and just kind of chat movies and games with us. So for David, Dean, and Nick, this is Tim. Take care of yourself, and you can catch us next on Rule of Thirds, airing every third Monday of the month, and also our sister podcast, Don't Open This Podcast, every second and fourth Monday of the month with me and Mike Felsigno. Rocketing off. We don't have an outro piece for that.
I wonder if Frank Welker is uncredited here, because Lothar makes some like interesting noises and screams. I'm like, who did those? Come on, it was Frank, wasn't it? It's got to be Frank.
You know, I do have to say that was refreshing, the complete lack of like Wilhelm screams. They could have done it multiple times and never did. And I was like, I'm thankful for this.
Joe Johnston's on About That Life. Now you can look at all of his movies and see if there's a Wilhelm anywhere.
October Sky. When the rocket first works, Jake Gyllenhaal just does but it doesn't even match his lips. It just like you hear the sound effect.